Or worse, you think about that one place you're scared of. Dark, empty, unknown. Zip, now you're there, alone. And what if you're not choosing the destination? What if the backpack is? What if it takes you where you need to go, not where you want to go? To face fears, fix mistakes, or meet someone important. Every zip changes your life. So the real question is, would you still use it? If you couldn't control it, if your backpack could teleport you anywhere, where's the first place you're going? And are you sure that's where it would take you? Subscribe to Thrill and Giggles, where even your school supplies are dangerous. What if your backpack could teleport you anywhere? Not a portal gun, not a time machine, just your regular, slightly messy backpack. You're late for school, you unzip your backpack and grab your homework. And suddenly, whoosh, you're standing on a beach in Hawaii. Same backpack, same clothes, no warning. You zip it back up, you're back in your room. Your backpack isn't for books anymore. It's a teleportation device. Think about it. Zip, you're there. Late for class? Zip, you're there. Bored? Zip. Paris. Hungry? Zip. Italy. Bad day? Zip. Somewhere no one knows you. You don't need money. You don't need tickets. You just need your backpack. But here's the catch. What if it doesn't take you where you want to go, but where you're thinking about? You joke about Antarctica? Zip. You're freezing. You think about space? Zip. No oxygen. Or worse, you think about that one place you're scared of. Dark, empty, unknown. Zip, now you're there, alone. And what if you're not choosing the destination? What if the backpack is? What if it takes you where you need to go, not where you want to go? To face fears, fix mistakes, or meet someone important. Every zip changes your life. So the real question is, would you still use it? If you couldn't control it, if your backpack could teleport you anywhere, where's the first place you're going? And are you sure that's where it would take you? Subscribe to Thrill and Giggles, where even your school supplies are dangerous. What if your backpack could teleport you anywhere? Not a portal gun, not a time machine, just your regular, slightly messy backpack. You're late for school, you unzip your backpack and grab your homework. And suddenly, whoosh, you're standing on a beach in Hawaii. Same backpack, same clothes, no warning. You zip it back up, you're back in your room. Your backpack isn't for books anymore. It's a teleportation device. Think about it. Zip, you're there. Late for class? Zip, you're there. Bored? Zip. Paris. Hungry? Zip! Italy. Bad days? Zip! Somewhere no one knows you. You don't need money. You don't need tickets. You just need your backpack. But here's the catch. What if it doesn't take you where you want to go, but where you're thinking about? You joke about Antarctica? Zip! You're freezing. You think about space? Zip! No oxygen. Or worse, you think about that one place you're scared of. Dark, empty, unknown. Zip! Now you're there, alone. And what if you're not choosing the destination? What if the backpack is? What if it takes you where you need to go, not where you want to go? To face fears, 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 and dollars. Okay, imagine this. Someone hands you $1 million. Not a loan, not a check that bounces, just cash. What would you do? First, it's amazing. Buy that expensive gaming setup you've always wanted. Travel the world in first class. Order pizza for every single person in your city. Life is instant upgrade. But then, reality hit. Pay bill? Sure. Save? Maybe. Or spend it all in the craziest way possible. Because let's be real, with $1 million, rules don't apply. Rent a private island? Fill your pool with slime or jelly beans? Hire 50 clowns to follow you around. And here's the thing.
Okay.
What if money didn't just give you power? What if it amplified everything about you? Generous? You become a legend. Greedy? You start collecting random stuff like a hoarder on steroids. Lazy? You hire robots to do literally everything, including breathing for you. $1 million doesn't just buy things. It creates chaos. So if someone gave you $1 million tomorrow, what would you do? Spend it wisely? Go wild? Or accidentally destroy the world? Comment below and let us know. And subscribe to Thrill and Higgle, where even money can be dangerous.
Wow! $1 million! This is incredible! Woo-hoo! Best day ever!
What if you were given $1 million? Okay, imagine this. Someone hands you $1 million. Not a loan, not a check that bounces, just cash. What would you do? First, it's amazing. Buy that expensive gaming setup you've always wanted. Travel the world in first class. Order pizza for every single person in your city. Life is instant upgrade. But then, reality hit. Pay bill? Sure. Save? Maybe. Or spend it all in the craziest way possible. Because let's be real, with $1 million, rules don't apply. Rent a private island, fill your pool with slime or jelly beans, hire 50 clowns to follow you around. And here's the thing.
Okay.
What if money didn't just give you power? What if it amplified everything about you? Generous? You become a legend. Greedy? You start collecting random stuff like a hoarder on steroids. Lazy? You hire robots to do literally everything, including breathing for you. $1 million doesn't just buy things. It creates chaos. So if someone gave you $1 million tomorrow, what would you do? Spend it wisely? Go wild? Or accidentally destroy the world? Comment below and let us know. And subscribe to 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗹𝗶𝗶𝗶, where even money can be dangerous.
Wow! $1 million! This is incredible! Woohoo! Best day ever!
What if you were given $1 million? Okay, imagine this. Someone hands you $1 million. Not a loan, not a check that bounces, just cash. What would you do? First, it's amazing. Buy that expensive gaming setup you've always wanted. Travel the world in first class. Order pizza for every single person in your city. Life is instant upgrade. But then, reality hit. Pay bill? Sure. Save? Maybe. Or spend it all in the craziest way possible. Because let's be real, with $1 million, rules don't apply. Rent a private island, fill your pool with slime or jelly beans, hire 50 clowns to follow you around. And here's the thing.
Okay.
What if money didn't just give you power? What if it amplified everything about you? Generous? You become a legend. Greedy? You start collecting random stuff like a hoarder on steroids. Lazy? You hire robots to do literally everything, including breathing for you. $1 million doesn't just buy things. It creates chaos. So if someone gave you $1 million tomorrow, what would you do? Spend it wisely? Go wild? Or accidentally destroy the world? Comment below and let us know. And subscribe to 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶, where even money can be dangerous.
Wow! $1 million! This is incredible! Woohoo! Best day ever!
What if you were given $1 million? Okay, imagine this. Someone hands you $1 million. Not a loan, not a check that bounces, just cash. What would you do? First, it's amazing. Buy that expensive gaming setup you've always wanted. Travel the world in first class. Order pizza for every single person in your city. Life is instant upgrade. But then, reality hit. Pay bill? Sure. Save? Maybe. Or spend it all in the craziest way possible. Because let's be real, with $1 million, rules don't apply. Rent a private island, fill your pool with slime or jelly beans, hire 50 clowns to follow you around. And here's the thing.
Okay.
What if money didn't just give you power? What if it amplified everything about you? Generous? You become a legend. Greedy? You start collecting random stuff like a hoarder on steroids. Lazy? You hire robots to do literally everything, including breathing for you. $1 million doesn't just buy things. It creates chaos. So if someone gave you $1 million tomorrow, what would you do? Spend it wisely? Go wild? Or accidentally destroy the world? Comment below and let us know. And subscribe to Thrill and Giggle, where even money can be dangerous.
Wow! $1 million! This is incredible! Woohoo! Best day ever!
What if you were given $1 million? Okay, imagine this. Someone hands you $1 million. Not a loan, not a check that bounces, just cash. What would you do? First, it's amazing. Buy that expensive gaming setup you've always wanted. Travel the world in first class. Order pizza for every single person in your city. Life is instant upgrade. But then, reality hit. Pay bill? Sure. Save? Maybe. Or spend it all in the craziest way possible. Because let's be real, with $1 million, rules don't apply. Rent a private island? Fill your pool with slime or jelly beans? Hire 50 clowns to follow you around. And here's the thing.
Okay.
What if money didn't just give you power? What if it amplified everything about you? Generous? You become a legend. Greedy? You start collecting random stuff like a hoarder on steroids. Lazy? You hire robots to do literally everything, including breathing for you. $1 million doesn't just buy things. It creates chaos. So if someone gave you $1 million tomorrow, what would you do? Spend it wisely? Go wild? Or accidentally destroy the world? Comment below and let us know. And subscribe to Thrill and Giggle, where even money can be dangerous.
Wow! $1 million! This is incredible! Woohoo! Best day ever!
What if you were given $1 million? Okay, imagine this. Someone hands you $1 million. Not a loan, not a check that bounces, just cash. What would you do? First, it's amazing. Buy that expensive gaming setup you've always wanted. Travel the world in first class. Order pizza for every single person in your city. Life is instant upgrade. But then, reality hit. Pay bill? Sure. Save? Maybe. Or spend it all in the craziest way possible. Because let's be real, with $1 million, rules don't apply. Rent a private island? Fill your pool with slime or jelly beans? Hire 50 clowns to follow you around. And here's the thing.
Okay.
What if money didn't just give you power? What if it amplified everything about you? Generous? You become a legend. Greedy? You start collecting random stuff like a hoarder on steroids. Lazy? You hire robots to do literally everything, including breathing for you. $1 million doesn't just buy things. It creates chaos. So if someone gave you $1 million tomorrow, what would you do? Spend it wisely? Go wild? Or accidentally destroy the world? Comment below and let us know. And subscribe to Thrill and Giggle, where even money can be dangerous.
Wow! $1 million! This is incredible! Woohoo! Best day ever!
What if you were given $1 million? Okay, imagine this. Someone hands you $1 million. Not a loan, not a check that bounces, just cash. What would you do? First, it's amazing. Buy that expensive gaming setup you've always wanted. Travel the world in first class. Order pizza for every single person in your city. Life is instant upgrade. But then, reality hit. Pay bill? Sure. Save? Maybe. Or spend it all in the craziest way possible. Because let's be real, with $1 million, rules don't apply. Rent a private island? Fill your pool with slime or jelly beans? Hire 50 clowns to follow you around. And here's the thing.
Okay.
What if money didn't just give you power? What if it amplified everything about you? Generous? You become a legend. Greedy? You start collecting random stuff like a hoarder on steroids. Lazy? You hire robots to do literally everything, including breathing for you. $1 million doesn't just buy things. It creates chaos. So if someone gave you $1 million tomorrow, what would you do? Spend it wisely? Go wild? Or accidentally destroy the world? Comment below and let us know. And subscribe to Thrill and Higgle, where even money can be dangerous.
Wow! $1 million! This is incredible! Woohoo! Best day ever!
What if you were given $1 million? Okay, imagine this. Someone hands you $1 million. Not a loan, not a check that bounces, just cash. What would you do? First, it's amazing. Buy that expensive gaming setup you've always wanted. Travel the world in first class. Order pizza for every single person in your city. Life is instant upgrade. But then, reality hit. Pay bill? Sure. Save? Maybe. Or spend it all in the craziest way possible. Because let's be real, with $1 million, rules don't apply. Rent a private island? Fill your pool with slime or jelly beans? Hire 50 clowns to follow you around. And here's the thing.
Okay.
What if money didn't just give you power? What if it amplified everything about you? Generous? You become a legend. Greedy? You start collecting random stuff like a hoarder on steroids. Lazy? You hire robots to do literally everything, including breathing for you. $1 million doesn't just buy things. It creates chaos. So if someone gave you $1 million tomorrow, what would you do? Spend it wisely? Go wild? Or accidentally destroy the world? Comment below and let us know. And subscribe to Thrill and Higgle, where even money can be dangerous.
Wow! $1 million! This is incredible! Woohoo! Best day ever!
What if you were given $1 million? Okay, imagine this. Someone hands you $1 million. Not a loan, not a check that bounces, just cash. What would you do? First, it's amazing. Buy that expensive gaming setup you've always wanted. Travel the world in first class. Order pizza for every single person in your city. Life is instant upgrade. But then, reality hit. Pay bill? Sure. Save? Maybe. Or spend it all in the craziest way possible. Because let's be real, with $1 million, rules don't apply. Rent a private island? Fill your pool with slime or jelly beans? Hire 50 clowns to follow you around. And here's the thing.
Okay.
What if money didn't just give you power? What if it amplified everything about you? Generous? You become a legend. Greedy? You start collecting random stuff like a hoarder on steroids. Lazy? You hire robots to do literally everything, including breathing for you. $1 million doesn't just buy things. It creates chaos. So if someone gave you $1 million tomorrow, what would you do? Spend it wisely? Go wild? Or accidentally destroy the world? Comment below and let us know. And subscribe to 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗹𝗶𝗶𝗶, where even money can be dangerous.
Wow! $1 million! This is incredible! Woohoo! Best day ever!
What if you were given $1 million? Okay, imagine this. Someone hands you $1 million. Not a loan, not a check that bounces, just cash. What would you do? First, it's amazing. Buy that expensive gaming setup you've always wanted. Travel the world in first class. Order pizza for every single person in your city. Life is instant upgrade. But then, reality hit. Pay bills? Sure. Save? Maybe. Or spend it all in the craziest way possible. Because let's be real, with $1 million, rules don't apply. Rent a private island? Fill your pool with slime or jelly beans? Hire 50 clowns to follow you around. And here's the thing.
Okay.
What if money didn't just give you power? What if it amplified everything about you? Generous? You become a legend. Greedy? You start collecting random stuff like a hoarder on steroids. Lazy? You hire robots to do literally everything, including breathing for you. $1 million doesn't just buy things. It creates chaos. So if someone gave you $1 million tomorrow, what would you do? Spend it wisely? Go wild? Or accidentally destroy the world? Comment below and let us know. And subscribe to 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶, where even money can be dangerous.
Wow! $1 million! This is incredible! Woohoo! Best day ever!
What if you were given $1 million? Okay, imagine this. Someone hands you $1 million. Not a loan, not a check that bounces, just cash. What would you do? First, it's amazing. Buy that expensive gaming setup you've always wanted. Travel the world in first class. Order pizza for every single person in your city. Life is instant upgrade. But then, reality hit. Pay bills? Sure. Save? Maybe. Or spend it all in the craziest way possible. Because let's be real, with $1 million, rules don't apply. Rent a private island? Fill your pool with slime or jelly beans? Hire 50 clowns to follow you around. And here's the thing.
Okay.
What if money didn't just give you power? What if it amplified everything about you? Generous? You become a legend. Greedy? You start collecting random stuff like a hoarder on steroids. Lazy? You hire robots to do literally everything, including breathing for you. $1 million doesn't just buy things. It creates chaos. So if someone gave you $1 million tomorrow, what would you do? Spend it wisely? Go wild? Or accidentally destroy the world? Comment below and let us know. And subscribe to 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶, where even money can be dangerous.
Wow! $1 million! This is incredible! Woohoo! Best day ever!
What if you were given $1 million? Okay, Imagine this. Someone hands you $1 million. Not a loan, not a check that bounces. Just cash. What would you do? First, it's amazing. Buy that expensive gaming setup you've always wanted. Travel the world in first class. Order pizza for every single person in your city. Life is instant upgrade. But then, reality hit. Pay bill? Sure. Save? Maybe. Or spend it all in the craziest way possible. Because let's be real, with $1 million, rules don't apply. Rent a private island? Fill your pool with slime or jelly beans? Hire 50 clowns to follow you around. And here's the thing.
Okay.
What if money didn't just give you power? What if it amplified everything about you? Generous? You become a legend. Greedy? You start collecting random stuff for steroids. Lazy? You hire robots to do literally everything, including breathing for you. 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 Breathe.
Can't help, stay away!
I'll get you.
What if your dreams came to life? Okay. Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow and your dreams? Yeah, they didn't disappear. They're still here. Welcome back to Thrill and Giggles, where we mix chills with chuckles. First, let's talk about the good stuff. Ever dreamed you could fly? Boom! You're late for work? Doesn't matter. You're now air traffic. Ever dreamed about unlimited pizza? Congratulations! The sky is raining pepperoni. Ever dreamed where you're rich? Check your bank account. If dreams come true,
Level up.
life
Yeah, that's
just
what I'm talking about.
upgraded. But wait, because not all dreams are adorable. Remember that one where you're being chased? Yeah, he remembers you too. That weird hallway that never ends? It's now your street.
Oh, no, not
That
again.
test you didn't
Why
study
me? I
for?
studied. This
It's
is the
happening
worst.
right now, forever. And here's the worst part. You can't wake up. Imagine everyone's dreams coming to life at the same time. One person is riding a dragon, another accidentally summoned a giant duck. Somebody's ex just appeared out in thin air. Oh, that's real hard. The sky is pink, gravity is optional, and your neighbor just turned into a wizard. It's beautiful. It's terrifying. It's absolute chaos.
I've
But
got it.
here's the real twist.
The perfect idea.
If dreams create reality,
Okay.
that means your thoughts matter. So if you panic, nightmares grow. If you laugh, things get weird but fun. So maybe the secret isn't fighting the dream. Maybe it's controlling it. Maybe the real power isn't in the monsters. It's in you. So tonight, when you go to sleep, be careful what you dream about. Because if you wake up and see a clown in your kitchen, That's on you. If your dreams come to life, what would you show up first? Comment below. Sweet dreams or nightmares? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the Thrill and Giggles crew, where we scream a little and laugh a lot.
We wanted to use 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗹𝗹𝗶 to create a prose-based visual montage, like a video poem. To do that, we collaborated with one of our poet friends
to write a few paragraphs of verse with which we shot footage against.
We used text-based editing to edit the prose into the final montage form.
Work today is broken. Every day, people juggle so many different tools just to get work done. A simple task turns into a time-consuming mess because work sprawl has scattered the tools and context we rely on. And the trend towards bundling software isn't addressing the root of the problem. The system's broken, and it's wasting our time. 8 years ago, we started ClickUp with a mission to save people time from switching between a bunch of different applications. But we knew the answer wasn't just bundling a bunch of tools together. We needed to rethink how software was built entirely. To solve the root of the problem, we built a single flexible platform with powerful primitives that can be shared to build multiple first-class products inside of one app. We call this convergence. It's allowed us to deliver products at an extremely high velocity, and now we're tying it all together in a new way. Everything we've built has led to this. Introducing ClickUp 4.0, the first converged AI workspace in the world. It's the future of software. It's not just another bundle of apps. It's a fundamentally converged platform where everything works together seamlessly. From communication to project management to knowledge management in one app, accelerated by the world's most productive AI. 4.0 is the epicenter for all of your work and collaboration. It's the beginning of a new meta category of apps that will define the next generation of software in the AI age. And it ushers in a new era of craft and quality for ClickUp's product. We've always said that using ClickUp saves you one day every week, but I'm confident that you're going to save a lot more than that with 4.0. Because when all of your work converges into one app, one tab, one AI workspace, everything just clicks.
In the last 4 months, my YouTube channel gained over 70,000 new subscribers. These are my real analytics, and they matter because they prove that growth is still possible right now. But before these 4 months, my channel was stuck for almost a year. During that time, I barely grew at all. Almost every video I uploaded would stop at around 2,000 views, no matter what I tried. If you clicked on this video, there's a good chance you are in the same situation. Your videos are not growing either. They get some views and then they just stop. And you have probably watched many YouTube videos about growth. You have tried different titles, thumbnails, and ideas, but your channel still doesn't move forward. So the real question is not whether YouTube still works. The real question is, why do some channels suddenly start growing while others stay stuck for months or even years? In this video, I'm going to show you how the YouTube algorithm works right now and the mistakes that keep most channels stuck. I'll also show you what my own analytics made very clear, because for months, my channel didn't grow at all. And then something finally changed. There's something very important for growing on YouTube that almost nobody talks about anymore, especially YouTube gurus. Everyone talks about the algorithm, and yes, I will talk about that in this video too. But there's something else that matters even more than people think. Years ago, YouTube even pushed this idea on the homepage. Creators talked about it all the time. Today, it feels like people forgot it exists. And here's the interesting part. This one thing can make your views move faster even before the algorithm fully understands your channel. Let me tell you a simple story so it makes sense. Imagine two people selling chocolate. The first person sells normal chocolate. People buy it, they enjoy it, and that's it. The second person also sells chocolate, but one day they create a new version, chocolate with yogurt inside. At first, it's just a weird idea. A few people try it and they say, wait, this is actually good. But then those people tell their friends. Their friends try it too. And then they tell other people too. Soon, people start talking about it like, hey, have you tried the chocolate with yogurt inside? Now, more people want to try it, not because normal chocolate is bad, but because everyone is talking about this one new thing. That talking creates attention. That attention creates curiosity. And that curiosity creates a trend. Once a trend starts, it grows by itself. People don't want to feel left out. People want to know what everyone else is talking about. They
Your channel. I remember when I first started YouTube, I put a ton of effort in my channel, but it was just stuck, even though I was doing everything right. It made me wonder, how is it that some channels get picked up by the algorithm while others don't for years? I refused to believe it was just luck. So I dug a little deeper and I noticed some tricks that smaller creators were doing right before their channels took off, but I just overlooked it. So in this video, we're going to uncover the 4 simple tricks that you can do to fast track the growth of your channel, because they can actually get the algorithm to push your content. And no, I'm not going to tell you to go steal somebody else's video ideas or their strategies. That can help if done correctly, but no, I'm talking about strategies that directly impact how the algorithm deals with your channel. And the first thing you want to do is give signals to the algorithm on what exactly your channel is about, which seems simple, but you'd be surprised how many creators fail to do this the right way. And yes, there is a right way. Picture this. You start a new channel and you launch your first video. You sit there excited, waiting to see the views come in, and then they don't. Why? Well, you're new here. The algorithm doesn't know what you're talking about, who to present your video to, or even what your channel is about. So what happens next is there's a 50% chance that you'll post a second video, and there's a 50% chance that you won't. Let's go with the optimistic chance that you do post another video. Again, you sit there waiting for views, a few more trickle in, but not really what you're expecting. You're probably devastated, disappointed, and the chances of you making a third video just dropped a little bit more, and they continue to drop with each frustrating attempt. It's so common by now that it actually has its own name. The First Valley of Death, or where many creator dreams go to die. So how can you avoid failing before you even begin? Well, you can actually overcome this, and it's a trick that one of the biggest YouTubers recommends to all his clients. It goes something like this.
When we launch a channel, we launch it with 5 videos. That is a hard and fast rule for us, so that way people go on a significant watch time journey in that first week period, so that way it tells YouTube, wow, this is a great channel that's going to get people to watch and they're going to be really engaged. So immediately you're jumpstarting the channel from 0 to 100 as opposed to 0 to like 10%, 15%, then maybe I get around to that next video.
That's 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗹𝗶. You may have heard of him, the mastermind behind the Game Theorists and a consultant helping small channels grow. Well, he knows what he's talking about. And what he's explaining here is one of the biggest mistakes new creators make, launching with 1 video or even worse, an empty channel. His solution? Launch with 5 videos. And that has at least 2 advantages with the algorithm. First, uploading 5 videos at once shows your audience that you're serious about your channel. It demonstrates that you have a clear value proposition and a variety of content to offer. This can help build trust and encourage viewers to subscribe because now they can see that you're committed to providing value. Second, and this is where the algorithm comes in, when you have multiple videos, viewers are more likely to binge watch your content. You can now lead them from one video to another, which is something you wouldn't have been able to do had you just launched with 1 video. Just by doing that, you've successfully and significantly boosted your watch time, which tells the algorithm, hey, this channel is engaging and keeps people watching, which obviously YouTube loves to hear and wants more of. But this launching strategy will not matter without mastering the next trick. Strategizing to post 5 videos is just the start, because you have to make sure your video topic has potential. The video topic can mean the difference between 100,000 views and 100 views. The good news is there's a way to make sure you picked a good topic. Now, there are tools that can help you come up with a great high view count topic for your YouTube channel. And the best part is they're totally free. So how do you find these topics? Easy. Let's start with a tool that everyone knows about, Google Trends. Google Trends is great for getting a general sense of what's popular in the moment. You can see what people are searching and you can identify broad trends. For example, if you search true crime, You might notice that it's a consistently popular topic with various spikes in interest. This gives a general idea that true crime content is in demand. However, to really hone in on the specifics and maximize your video's potential, you need something a bit more powerful. That's where vidIQ comes in. Let's jump to the tool and see how it works. The keyword inspector gives you a vidIQ score, which combines search volume and competition to indicate the potential success of the topic. Let's say true crime. True crime has a high search volume, but also high competition, so we gotta dig a little deeper. Refine your search. Look for related keywords with better potential. For example, true crime documentaries or true crime stories. Check the vidIQ scores for these variations. You might find that true crime stories has moderate competition, but still has a good search volume. Discover new opportunities. Use the related keywords to explore more specific niches. You might come across True Crime Mysteries Unsolved, which has a high vidIQ score, indicating that it's a trending topic with less competition. So this way, you've not only identified a popular trend, but also refined it to find a specific angle that gives you the best chance for success. This saves you time and ensures your content will be discovered and watched by a larger audience. And best of all, you just transformed your guesswork into data-driven strategy. And look at the proof. Just type in True Crime Stories Unsolved on YouTube and check out the views. They're in the millions, indicating that this is a topic people click on. But getting people to click is just the start. The hard part is keeping them watching to the end. It's a pretty straightforward formula. The longer you can hold their attention, the higher the watch time. This prompts the YouTube algorithm to expose your channel to an ever-increasing audience. And this is why you need to use this simple trick way more than you think to explode your retention. If you've ever stumbled across one of Dodford's videos, you'll find that he's a storytelling genius. His storytelling is seamless, it's captivating, and it keeps you till the end. I dug deeper into what he's doing, and I found a Twitter thread of his where he reveals a secret script writing hack. It's called the 3-act structure, and he hints about it over and over. So how can you use this to increase your watch time? Follow that framework, not just once, but with each new segment. Consider adding a hook that piques curiosity, a story or example to get your point across, and only give the lesson at the end. And the most important thing is just to keep doing this over and over through the whole script so you can keep catching interest right before the viewer has a chance to lose it. For example, say you're creating a video on the best way to cook steak. Have you ever wondered why your steak doesn't taste like the restaurants? Then confront the problem. Most people make these common mistakes. Use vivid descriptions and personal stories, and finally, resolve it. Here's the foolproof method used by top chefs. Using this structure, you not only keep viewers engaged, but you make your content more memorable and impactful.
Want to create an online store but not sure what to do next? With managed WooCommerce hosting from Hostinger, you can skip the complex setup process and get straight to business. It's e-commerce hosting, but with more.
Now I call this next trick the lazy way to grow your YouTube channel really, really fast. And I love it because you basically just let the algorithm do the work for you. Remember when we covered how the algorithm aims to surface the best content that gratifies the audience? Well, when you upload a video that blows up or sees tremendous success, that's a clear indication that that's what your viewers and subscribers are wanting to watch. So all you got to do is just note that down and hammer on it. What the pro creators do, and so should you, is something Jenny Hoyos calls creating buckets. Once you find a format that works, recreate it over and over again, and that will ensure that it'll probably work every time, thereby exploding your channel. Mr. Who's the Boss is doing it with his I Bought the Most Blank Tech series, and Ryan Trahan is doing it with I Tried 1-Star series. Even Mr. Beast is doing it. Wow, look at the millions of views. You too can easily do this. Once you pinpoint a specific video style or format that works for you and you knock it out of the park, just keep doing it. Keep churning out videos within that bucket. You got to be careful though, because too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. Here's Mr. Beast's thought on that.
Every year we've had formats that do really well. If I kept doing the formats that were crushing back in 2020, I wouldn't be where I am now. Eventually they would fizzle out. I'm a big believer in like ending on a format while, you know, it's not too old. I have so many viral, great like ideas that I want to bring to life. There's just like so many videos I want to film and like so many different ideas that no one else is doing that I want to bring to the table that it's like, I don't want to do 15 of those because like those other 8 that I would do, I could have done something more original and creative.
So yeah, definitely milk that winning format, but you don't want to become overly reliant on it. Keep experimenting, because that will allow you to consistently tap into your viewers' interests while exploring some other concepts that might unlock a new audience. Speaking of new audiences, did you know there's a way to gain 1,000 subs super fast? No? Well, there is. Check this video out to see what I'm talking about.
If you knew what I knew, you could get 10 million subscribers within 6 months.
Your first video is not going to get views.
Subscribers don't matter. Views don't matter. I mean, they do.
So stop sitting there and thinking for months and months on end and just get to work and start uploading.
Everything you want as a creator comes from making the best videos possible and thumbnails.
MrBeast shares his best YouTube advice all the way from title and thumbnail secrets to growing a channel on YouTube.
It's much easier to get 5 million views on one video than 50,000 views on 100 videos.
He also reveals how he's able to hook in viewers in his videos and what he would do if he started over from scratch.
What advice would you give yourself when you were starting out?
Your videos suck. You think your videos are good, but they suck. You know, they just do. And the sooner you learn how to make good, great videos that people actually want to watch, the sooner you'll get views. I think is the biggest takeaway, because like when I was 14, I thought my videos were the best in the world. They weren't. They're terrible. Many people are making way better videos than me, but I didn't think that. And I think, you know, to be successful, you kind of have to have a little bit of that ego where you're like, you know, my content's great. You got to believe in it. But also, like, if you have sub 1,000 subscribers, like, there's a good probability your videos just suck. They just do. And you need to make hundreds of videos or 100 videos. I don't know. It depends on the difficulty of your videos. Improve something every time and just like get to the point where they don't. When you make good content, you'll blow up. It's not the algorithm. It's not anything. It's just like me and most people who are in my position, you just make terrible videos. And that's okay, because you got to make a bunch of videos and improve over time to be great. Like, you don't just pick up a baseball and become an MLB level athlete within a year. You know, it takes many years, and YouTube's kind of the same way.
A lot of people get analysis paralysis and they'll just sit there and they'll plan their first video for 3 months. And yeah, I'm any of you listening, if you, especially if you have 0 videos on your channel, your first video is not going to get views, period. It's not. Your first 10 are not going to get views. I can very confidently say that. So stop sitting there and thinking for months and months on end, and just get to work and start uploading. Like, all you need to do, this applies to people who have not uploaded videos but have dreams of being a YouTuber, is make 100 videos and improve something every time. Do that. And then on your 101st video, we'll start talking, like, maybe you can get some views, but you know, your first 100 are going to suck. There are very freak cases like 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗹𝗶𝗹𝗀 or 𝗪𝗵 who have really good personalities, and it doesn't take them as many videos. And it's just like people who are 7'5" and making the NBA. Like, yes, there are freak cases you can find, but for the average person like us, you know, who don't have these exceptional personalities and, you know, backgrounds in filmmaking, just make 100 videos, improve something each time, and then talk to me on your 101st video.
How do you improve something each time?
The second one, just, I don't know, put more effort into the script. The third one, try to learn a new editing trick. The fourth one, try to figure out a way that you can have better inflections in your voice. The fifth one, try to, you know, study a new thumbnail tip and implement it. The sixth one, try to figure out a new title. There's infinite ways. That's the beauty of content creation online. There's literally infinite ways, from the coloring to the frame rate to the editing to the filming to the production to the jokes to the pacing, to every little thing can be improved, and they can never not be improved. There's literally no such thing as a perfect video.
What YouTube wants is they want people to click on a video and they want to watch it. Like,
communication is so important because it involves connection. How you make that connection really matters with who you're talking to. I'm Alex Diaz. I'm a professional marketer in Seattle. I volunteer with an organization.
at its core, that's what it is. Now, you can like draw little lines and go as deep as you want into how to get people to click and how to get people to watch. I mean, essentially, by studying the algorithm, you'll learn that you're more studying human psychology, right? What do humans want to watch? Anytime you say the word algorithm, just replace it with audience, and it works perfectly. Like, the algorithm didn't like that video. No, the audience didn't like that video. Literally, that's it. If people are clicking and watching, then it gets promoted more. And that's literally all the algorithm does, is reflect what the people want to a T. And if you deny that, you just make terrible videos that are trying to find a scapegoat.
What makes for a good title? Short?
Not just short. It's also, if someone reads it, are they like, do they have to watch it? Is it just so intrinsically interesting that it's just gonna quit them if they don't click on it? You know what I mean? Ideally, it's a title also that because the titles don't live in a vacuum, right? So it has to lead into the content. So ideally the title represents content that you would want to watch for 20 minutes. So if it's a 20-minute video and the title is I stepped on a bug, the click-through rate is going to be much lower than if it was like a 5-second video. Like even nuances of the length of the video based against the title will affect whether people want to click it, because sometimes they just all add up. I mean, it's that, yes, ideally you want it below 50 characters, because above 50 characters on certain devices, you run the chance of it going ... So like I took a light pole and I saw how many dollar bills I could stack on top, and then it would just go ... because it's too long and it can't finish it. And that's the worst thing, because then people don't even know what they're clicking on. And so it's going to do even worse. Short, simple, ideally, and just so freaking interesting they have to click. And it is a good segue into the content, and it represents the length of the content. The more extreme the opinion, typically the higher the click-through rate. If you can like pay it off in the content, then it just supercharges it. So like,
oh, so you have a kind of estimate of the extreme.
Here, like this water, right? You're like, Fiji water sucks.
Yeah,
that would do fine. But if you said Fiji water is the worst water I've ever drank in my life,
yeah,
way more extreme opinion would do way better.
But you have to deliver.
Yeah, but then you have to deliver, because the more extreme you are, the more extreme you have to be in the video.
I heard you guys talking about autoplay on YouTube,
Yes.
and I've never considered it. I've always thought about the thumbnail, but now on YouTube, videos automatically play.
Of course. So before you film a video, what is the thumbnail? What is the video? And then what's the first 5 seconds? And then what's the first 30 seconds? By the first 5 seconds is like goes with the thumbnail.
Because it's possible that people open YouTube and
They don't see it.
They don't
Especially
even see the
for
thumbnail.
us, because like for so many people I've watched hundreds of our videos, when I upload, I am first on your homepage. So like you just literally don't even see the thumbnail because it autoplays so quickly. So like the thumbnail is irrelevant. I have to like visually convince you to click on the video.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah, that's why we go so hardcore.
Dude, that's so crazy. So do you consider also captions in those first 5 seconds? Because
Of
people
course,
aren't
all
watching
of it.
with
Yeah,
audio.
everything. Everything. Yes, 100%.
Wow. So those first 5 seconds, that hook is now even more important than it ever used to be.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, before it was important because you had to convince people to watch.
Yeah.
Now you have to convince people to click and watch at the same time.
Whoa.
With the first 5
So
seconds.
that's driving CTR now too. Yeah,
It is,
interesting.
100%.
Wow.
I roast that. A lot of people who like have boring first 5 seconds. It's brutal. Your title and thumbnail set expectations. And at the very beginning of the video, to minimize drop off, you want to assure them that those expectations are being met. If you click on a video where, of his, where it's like, Tether is a scam, and then at the very beginning, he starts talking about literally anything else, then you are like, oh, this is bullshit. This isn't what I clicked on. But if at the very start of the video, you go, Tether is a scam, and I'm going to teach you why, then it's like, okay, you match the expectations. So at the very beginning, match the expectations, and then you want to exceed them. So you want to assure people that what they clicked on is what they're getting, and then blow their mind and be like, but you're also getting even more. That's how you lower drop off, which a lot of people, sometimes it takes them like 20 seconds to really meet the expectations. And so you lose, like, that's where you're going to lose everyone. Everyone's videos start like this, and then it levels off. So you want to reduce the amount of people that click off on the audience retention graph. I hope you're popping up graphs while I'm saying this, so it's easier for people to visualize. We really should drill this home, because like the number one thing is like retaining as many people as possible at the start. Because like envision a chart where you lose 35% of your viewers in the first 30 seconds, and then envision one where you only lose 20%. That's 15% more people that are watching, throughout the video than not. And it's not like you made the whole video like a bunch better. You just had a more strategic intro that hooked them. I'm struggling to put this into words and like to really impose how important that is, but like that 15% difference in viewership really does make the difference between hypothetically like 2 million views on a video and like 10 in my head. The thing people undervalue the most is literally the first 10 seconds of the video. Like, yeah, I think I can quote it. I tied up an FBI agent and I have $100,000 in this bag. Here's a knife. Good luck. And I just run away. Yeah. Like it gives you everything you need. Yeah. No wasted words, short, concise, and then tension. You basically want to remove every dull moment. You probably want to find the 10 most critical people make them watch the video and just roast it. Certain things like if I just talk to a camera for 10 seconds without a cut, like a lot of people will just like get bored or they'll lose interest. So like having a B cam and a C cam and you can just talk for 10 seconds, but 3 seconds in cutting to a B cam and then a C cam, like now it's more interesting, even though it's essentially the same thing and not that crazy. But you want to have good pacing, typically having a payoff at the end keeps them, right? Last leave circle wins 10 grand. If there is a low moment halfway through, you're going to watch to the end because you want to see who wins the 10 grand. So having a good payoff at the end.
How do you keep viewers watching and, happy with the video?
I would say just give them why they clicked, tell them why they should watch, and then just stick on topic. Like that right there isn't even super complex, but that would already put you in the upper echelon of YouTube. It's hard for a lot of people. People, for whatever reason, like they just drag it out. A lot of vlog channels do it. It's like eating $100 ice cream, and they'll be like, I'm gonna eat $100 ice cream. But first, and then it's like earlier in the day, and it's just stuff that has nothing to do with what you clicked on. It's like them birthday shopping for their mom, and it's like that's not why I came here.
Now, if you're looking to grow your YouTube channel, I gotta tell you about this before we get into the rest of Mr. Beast's genius advice. And that is that we at Think Media are doing a free YouTube challenge to help you grow your first 1,000 subscribers on YouTube or make your first $1,000 on YouTube. To sign up for free, all you have to do is go to tube1kchallenge.com or check out the link down in our description. During this free challenge, Sean Cannell, the founder of Think Media, is going to be showing you guys how to grow your YouTube channels and make money online with YouTube. So click on the link to sign up today or to check out when our next challenge is going to be. Okay, let's get back into the video.
What's interesting is the longer people watch something, the more likely they are to keep watching. So you don't have to try as hard in the hypothetically back half of a video as you do in the front. Like even right now, we're so deep into this where a lot of people listening are probably just going to keep listening relatively close to the end unless we just have a really boring part of this conversation because they're just in it. They're immersed. And so a big, like to really boil it down to a simple level, you just want to get people where they're immersed in the content and then just kind of hold them there.
The thing is, it's all knowledge. It really is. And like every time I say this, people debate it to the end of time on Twitter, but I don't care. Like I could start a new channel tomorrow with not using my face or my voice, like without ever promoting it. And in 6 months have 20 million subscribers. I just could. Yeah. It's purely knowledge. Like if you knew what I knew, you could get 10 million views a video and you could get 10 million subscribers no matter where you are right now within 6 months. It really is just knowledge. And I can already tell you 90% of the people watching, they don't agree with that. They don't. And everyone has excuses and they're always like, nah, YouTube just doesn't work like that, Jimmy. You don't understand. But I mentor a lot of people. I see it even to this day. I still see it all the time. It is possible. It is simply knowledge. And the second you accept that it is knowledge and you start your, for me, 10,000 day journey of learning, for you, whatever it is, if you want to be less hardcore, and like actually figuring out, you know, what makes a good video, what does my audience want, how can I elevate, and then you take that knowledge and you just assume that I will never understand what the perfect video is, and every single day I just need to be devoted to learning as much as possible and improving as much as possible, and I got to improve every video as much as I can. Then there you go. There are tons of viral ideas that people can do that don't require money. It does not require money to go viral. Like at one point, one of my most viewed videos was like spending 24 hours in a desert. We just grabbed a tent, some stuff, and we went in the desert. And it got like 60, 70 million views. I have so many videos where we spent hardly any money, like the no food one, or I'd have to pull up the channel and go through it, that have gotten tens of millions of views, and they would have gotten 10+ million views even on a small channel. So people who say, oh, well, I could be Mr. Beast if I had money. Well, A, I didn't start off with money. I was poor. I had no money. And it took me like 7 years just to buy a camera, saving up from YouTube. And B, some of our most viewed videos, literally, like anyone can do. The best way to get views, in my opinion, I think it's better to really, really focus on quality if you're a very small YouTuber. And you can upload a video a day and like all the videos be average. And like none of those videos will really stand out. None of it's like epic enough where like the algorithm's gonna go, oh, this video is good. Like we need to spread it. I feel like a lot of small YouTubers, they just post like videos that aren't bad, but they're not great. And they just do that. And none of them ever pop off. So they never get an audience, where it might be better to like, you know, upload half or a third or even like a fifth of the videos, but make the videos you upload so freaking good that like the algorithm has to promote it and that, you know, it has to find audiences for it because it's such an interesting and good video. When you like set a consistent schedule and you're constantly having to upload videos that aren't as good as you'd like because you got to hit, oh, this Monday, I said I'd upload every Monday, you know, like it's a dangerous trap because then, you know, the viewers notice that the quality isn't as good and it makes them less likely to watch. And I think it hurts your longevity. A lot of times people, oh boy, it's like they think their videos are better than they are, honestly. And
tell them, Jimmy, tell them.
I mean, they do. And you have to that, and they have horrible friend groups because you really are like the type of YouTubers you hang around. And so like a lot of times I'm just like, what you're saying is wrong. Who told you this? They're like, oh, this guy. And it's like, well, they're wrong. It's not true. There's no such thing as a perfect video. Like someone should always call you and it on your video because it could be better. Like that's because imagine if someone does that every video and you upload hundreds, if not 1,000 videos over the next 10 years. And every single time someone's critiquing you and you're applying what they're critiquing. Like imagine the compound effect over that time span. It's invaluable. People think it's like, oh, well, it's all like CTR and stuff like that. But a big thing that everyone underestimates is it's what was your experience with your last video? If people loved the last video of yours that they watched, they're more likely to watch your next one. For the YouTubers watching this, when people watch your video, they go, okay, that was good, but like that's enough of you for the day. Like it was all right, right? Whereas what you want is them to go, holy crap, that was crazy. Oh my God, what's that? Holy crap, that was crazy. Oh my God. And they watch 10 videos. That's what you're going for, that data can't describe. And like, I've never heard anyone talk about that, but that is it. That's how you get these high view counts, because people watch 10 videos, not one, you know? It's okay to draw inspiration from me, but just don't do what I do to a T. It's not like $1 versus blank. I'm the first person to do it. But I just, saw that format and I was just like, how can I do that 100 times better? Right. How can I put 100 times more creativity into it? How can I level up the editing by 100 times? How can I spend 100, blah, blah, blah. And that's always my mindset. How can I if I get inspired by something, how can I do that, but 100 times better and make it my own? Whereas a lot of people are just like, oh, Mr. Beast did that.
Introducing ClickUp Super Agents, the world's first AI agents that natively collaborate with humans and always have correct context and perfect memory. You lead, your super agents go to work, completing tasks, scheduling work, creating designs, and even running entire workflows. And starting today, every human can create an AI agent. It's a total leapfrog in productivity. Maximize productivity with your first super agent today.
You love building high-performing websites, but you don't love having to chase clients down for content, coding plugins, or endlessly switching between tools. What if you could work without?
I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah, how do I make a good thumbnail? How do I get people to click my video?
You want it to be simple. You want them to be able to, when they're scrolling through their suggested or homepage or whatever touch point, you want them to instantly be able to understand what you're conveying. And you want them to feel some type of emotion. You know what I mean? The way I like to phrase it is you want to make it so interesting or spike their curiosity or whatever emotion so much that if they don't click it, they'll wonder, before they go to bed, what happened? You know what I mean? Like an example would be if you uploaded a video, I rode a skateboard with 1,000 other people on it, and people are falling off the side or whatever. And I'm envisioning a giant skateboard, people hanging on the side of it. Maybe it's about to go off a big ramp. If you don't click that, you're gonna be so curious. It's gonna be on your mind. Later in the day when you're daydreaming, you're gonna think what happened? What happened to those 1,000 people on that skateboard? That's kind of the mindset I think you should have when making thumbnails.
How often do you change a thumbnail on a video? Is that something, do you usually just stick with one, or you try different ones?
I think we get better at making thumbnails every year. So it's more, when I upload a thumbnail, I usually think it's good and I don't change it most of the time. But what happens is 3 years later, I look back and I'm like, oh, that's a horrible thumbnail. And so it's usually every 2 years we just go back and update a lot of our older thumbnails just because they're terrible. Just with the new knowledge we have and what we've learned. And funny enough, that actually usually does help quite a bit when we update the thumbnails on old videos. They usually do see a little bit of an uptick because they're just, if we take an old thumbnail where it's seeing if whatever, 100,000 magnets can stop a car, and it just looks terrible. And then with the new stuff, I know we zoom in a little bit so it's a little more visible and make things look better. Then magically it starts doing a little bit better because now people actually understand what it is, because I'm not as much of an idiot anymore.
In 10 years, YouTube's going to be bigger than television ever was for culture in America, at least, in my opinion. And so I think a lot of people underestimate that, and I don't think people really understand just how to be one of the top creators on the biggest social media platform, and that will also be the biggest in 10 years during that whole time, the amount of value and how crazy that is. You don't need a network, you don't need to go through people. You just are. You can do whatever you want, and you can influence people how you want. it's just wild. It's mind blowing. And you can leverage that to build businesses or, you know, like do things like Beast Philanthropy or whatever. I think like people don't realize just how much influence the top YouTube channels have.
No one's ever going to do what I do better than me. Like, it's just not, it's not even humanly possible. Like, I reinvest every penny I make.
Yeah.
I work every hour I'm awake. I devote every atom in my brain to solving this. I hire the best people on the planet. I've been doing this for 14 years. And I think in decades, not years. So I'm going to be doing this for another 20, 30 years, not 2 or 3. So no, the next me isn't going to be me because no one's going to do what I do better than me. It's not possible. If I thought someone was doing better than me, I'd just start sleeping less so I could work even more. Like, I'd figure it out. I don't give
The barrier to entry to be you is extremely high.
Yeah.
Right? Especially where you're
well,
at
it's just
now.
because I'm all in. I'm crazy. Like, people shouldn't be me. I don't have a life. I don't have work-life balance. My personality, my soul, my being is making the best videos possible, entertaining my fans as best as I can. Like, that is what exists on this planet. And I don't recommend it. You know what I mean? Like, you should have work-life balance. You should not devote your entire life to this one thing. Like, go have fun. Like, you know, I'm miserable a lot of times. I have a mental breakdown every other week because I push myself so hard. Like, I don't recommend it, you know.
What do you think gets us to 1 million subscribers?
Well, subscribers is an arbitrary number.
Okay, so million views a video.
No, you should ask me what helps us make the best videos possible. That's the only question you should ask me. Subscribers don't matter. Views don't matter. I mean, they do, but all that comes. Everything you want as a creator comes from making the best videos possible and thumbnails. But it's easier to, you know, make thumbnails. The video part's the hard part, and that's the thing that you're known for. Ask, how can I make my videos better? Do that every single day for years, and then you'll probably get views.
Bro, I swear I'm quitting YouTube. I constantly upload my shorts and get 65 views. And my channel only has 24 subscribers. I am done YouTubing. Okay, that was me before 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗹𝗶. If you're a creator, this is the moment you don't want to miss. No matter what niche you're in, it basically gets your videos in front of the right audience. New users get 50% extra views and subscribers on their first campaign. This platform is used by 56,000 YouTubers worldwide. Create campaign now.
Unbox MMORPG, in which you write your own story instead of following a laid out path. Explore a vast open world. Everything you do has an impact on Albion's player-driven economy. Every piece of equipment is crafted by players from resources gathered by players. The equipment you wear defines who you are. Switching from night to magician.
Here's some amazing YouTube advice from 10 very successful YouTubers. Let's get into number 1.
Any of you listening, if you, especially if you have 0 videos on your channel, your first video is not going to get views, period. It's not. Your first 10 are not going to get views. I can very confidently say that. So stop sitting there and thinking for months and months on end and just get to work and start uploading. Like, all you need to do, this applies to people who have not uploaded videos but have dreams of being a YouTuber, is make 100 videos and improve something every time. Do that. And then on your 101st video, we'll start talking, like, maybe you can get some views, but you know, your first 100 are going to suck. There are very freak cases like 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗹𝗶 or 𝗪𝗵 Chamberlain who have really good personalities and it doesn't take them as many videos. And it's just like people who are 7'5" and making the NBA. Like, yes, there are freak cases you can find, but for the average person like us, you know, who don't have these exceptional personalities and, you know, backgrounds in filmmaking, just make 100 videos, improve something each time, and then talk to me on your 101st video.
Well, the improve something each time is the tricky one. How do you improve something each time?
The second one, just, I don't know, put more effort into the script. The third one, try to learn a new editing trick. The fourth one, try to figure out a way that you can have better inflections in your voice. The fifth one, try to, you know, study a new thumbnail tip and implement it. The sixth one, try to figure out a new title. There's infinite ways. That's the beauty of content creation online. There's literally infinite ways, from the coloring to the frame rate to the editing to the filming to the production to the jokes to the pacing to every little thing can be improved, and they can never not be improved. There's literally no such thing as a perfect video.
Don't really worry about what your niche is. Like, people get hung up on this. Like, I don't know what to make videos about. It would be like a writer saying, I don't know what to write about, therefore I'm not going to write. Or like an artist saying, I don't know what my masterpiece is going to be, therefore I'm not going to hold a paintbrush. It's totally okay for your niche to emerge over time. Yes, you can take a very calculating route and plot it out in advance and be like, okay, this is my path. Or you can do what I recommend, which is just start making videos on YouTube about whatever you enjoy, whatever you want. If I was starting on YouTube, I wouldn't really worry about the niche thing. I just think, you know what? let me make videos about the things that I enjoy, maybe some close-up magic because I'm not a total loser. Maybe like iPhones, maybe like, my favorite pen, maybe like, tips of getting started on YouTube, maybe life as a medical student, maybe like whatever experiences in my life that I enjoy talking about and that I think I could teach on the internet. That is the stuff I would start making videos about. And over time, as you start making videos about things that you enjoy, the audience starts to resonate with some of those things. And so your niche ends up emerging over time. I never thought I would be a productivity YouTuber, but I seem to have become a productivity YouTuber because that niche just sort of emerged over time. It was not forward planned in advance. And so if you've got a lot of interest, if you've got a lot of things you're interested in, or even if you don't know what to talk about on YouTube, just start making stuff and you will figure it out. Don't be one of those writers who says, I don't know what my bestseller book is going to be about, therefore I'm not going to write a single word. It's the same with YouTube. Who cares if you don't know what your niche is? Your niche will change over time. I started off making videos for medical school applicants. I now no longer care about medical school applicants in terms of making videos. And therefore it just sort of changes over time. So don't worry about it. Don't overthink it.
Hi, I'm Fanny Texier and I'm a documentary filmmaker. Text-based editing is amazing because it's basically like editing a video like a text document. It allows you to get to the core of your story way faster.
Just make the videos that you enjoy at the start.
Strongest call to action is to watch another video. Because now all of a sudden your channel went from like, say 8 minutes of watch time to 16 minutes of watch time if they watch another one. And it shows that this person is in your little watch web. It also gives you another ad impression. Like that is the metric that YouTube cares about. Sure, you can ask them to comment. You can ask them to like, that's totally fine. But watching another video exposes them to more of your content and shows YouTube, I am a channel that keeps people on this platform for 16 minutes rather than just 8 minutes.
Yep, that's incredibly well said. And for everyone listening, 2 call to actions, it sounds like. One in the first third, that may be the like. You don't want to ask somebody to watch another video and leave your current one.
Yes.
And the outro, just to clarify, is watch another.
Correct, yes.
As opposed to decision fatigue of like, watch, comment, subscribe.
Yeah, people don't do any of those. It's a meaningless call to action.
Patty Galloway, and he was talking about the ideas of your video. And then he was also talking about the titles. When it comes to ideas, and this is something we do, I just don't think we've talked about it enough.
No, for sure.
He said to think of 100 ideas, bring it down to the top 10, and then choose one. He goes, I can't believe when people think of one video idea and they just go and make it. Keep in mind, he's working with like Mr. Beast. He's working with people who require a like killer video idea. The point is, ideas matter so much on YouTube. Start with volume and then work your way in to the best ones.
You know, transitioning from a video idea to actually landing on a title. When Patty was talking about titles, it's just crazy how just the reframing of the right title will cause so much interest. And his word was curiosity.
He gave a really cool example. He was working with a client and the first variation of the title was inside a $1.7 million New York loft. They didn't really love it. And there was nothing really interesting about it except the money value, but there's probably more expensive ones or whatever, right? So then they changed it to, I found the best loft in New York, and they liked it better. They thought it improved. And then they added one more thing to it, which was, I found the best loft in NYC, ... but nobody wants it. And they were like, that's the title. They opened up this curiosity loop. If it's the best loft in New York City, why does nobody want it? How can you breed curiosity into that? Because naturally, you want to click on something that sparks curiosity. You want to know the answer. And so you want to click on that video.
On that note of like deciding what videos to make, how much are you good? How much does it play on your mind of, oh, I know if I make this sort of video, it'll get this many views versus more like, I feel like making this video because I feel like it. And sort of that, to me, that's always felt like a bit of a spectrum of like doing things because I feel like it versus doing things because I know they'll perform well. How do you think about sort of videos along that spectrum?
Yeah. So I think this is super lucky that the videos that I know will do well are the most interesting to me also because they're about probably a piece of tech that is so cool that I want to check it out anyway, right? So on one half, it's like, what videos will do well? It's the hottest gadgets, the most impressive new things that people haven't seen before, collaborations with really cool, interesting people. Those I know before we make them are like, oh, those are going to do pretty well. And then on the other half is, what do I want to do? And sometimes it's, well, I want to check out this gadget. This seems pretty cool. well, I kind of want to talk to this person. They seem really interesting to talk to. And suddenly like they're like meshing together and it's kind of the same pool of things. So often, again, it's like I don't have that much pressure to like, I'm not into this video, but I'm going to do it anyway because I know it'll get a lot of views. That doesn't happen too often for me because if I know it's going to get a lot of views, why is that going to get a lot of views? Because it's a really interesting piece of tech. Oh, okay. So I'm in.
And has that always been your attitude, or was that a thing that changed over time?
I think that's something I figured out over time. I know that there are videos that I make that aren't going to blow up like the ones that are the most popular gadgets, but I still want to share them because I still think they're cool. And I think if I can make the video in a way that actually shows why I'm so interested in it, then it will eventually be interesting to people and will catch on. So I think that's something I sort of learned probably in the second half of making videos, which is that we can sort of justify pretty much any video we want to make.
Hey, I'd like to take a moment to talk about the sponsor of this video, Podcastle. Whether you want to do a solo podcast or have all of your friends on, Podcastle allows you to have up to 10 remote guests at a time. One of the coolest parts about this is that each person is going to be recorded locally on separate tracks. And it's really easy for bringing guests on because they don't even need a Podcastle account. You just need to send them their link and then they can come onto your show. Podcastle even has a mobile app, which makes it really easy for recording and exporting your content on the go. They truly make it as simple as possible to produce your podcast. Thank you so much, Podcastle, for sponsoring this video.
Is there ever a point where it's like,
want to create an online store but not sure what to do next? With managed WooCommerce hosting from Hostinger, you can skip the complex setup process and get straight to business. It's e-commerce hosting, but with more. Quickly and easily fill your site with search-friendly content and bespoke product descriptions written by our AI content creator. Increase sales and turn visitors into customers thanks to lightning-quick page loading speeds. Plus, there's plenty of room to grow whether you've got one product, hundreds, or thousands. With a 99.9% uptime guarantee, you can relax knowing your store will be serving customers for you 24 hours a day. And it will be protected by the latest security tools, automatic backups, and updates. Try it in complete confidence with our 30-day money-back guarantee. And if you ever need help, our expert support is available 24/7, trusted by millions of website owners worldwide. Go to hostinger.com/e-commerce to get started. Hostinger, 3, 2, online.
there's too much content, I can't watch it all?
I think so. And that's why sometimes, creating even more content is not necessarily a bad thing because somebody might skip a day. And if they watch your video today and they didn't watch yesterday, they'll be like, oh, I
might go back.
She had one yesterday, so let me go back and watch that. I mean, I think it's really just about like focusing on what your audience is. Sometimes you might not know what your audience is, but just listen to them. I mean, I'm very quickly able to tell if somebody likes a video or they don't like a video in the comments. And I think the most painful comments is the ones where people are like, man, I usually really like your videos, but this one wasn't my favorite. I'm like, oh, shoot. Burn.
Will you ever delete videos?
No, I mean, I've definitely set some to private, mostly because it was just like announcement videos.
Sure, yeah. So
it's like,
you don't want it up there afterwards.
Yeah, it's like, hey,
the
come.
meetup's over.
Yeah, come meet me here. Well, that was like a week ago. So no.
Right. Okay.
Even small YouTube channels can lead to big opportunities.
West Hobart Haunted House. West Hobart is an inner-city suburb located in Tasmania, Australia. Over the years, dozens of allegations of supposed hauntings, ghost apparitions, and other paranormal activity have been made by tourists and residents of West Hobart. And it's honestly not too hard to see why, as West Hobart is a pretty old town with a generally creepy vibe. As is usually the case, most of these stories have either turned out to be fake or the people making the allegations didn't have enough evidence, which makes it almost entirely likely that they're hoaxes. But as it turns out, at least one of these stories actually has some amount of truth to it. Back in the late 80s and mid-90s, rumors started spreading of a house in West Hobart that was apparently so haunted it drove its residents insane. At first, the rumors created a huge buzz all over town, with the locals doing everything possible to stay far away from the alleged haunted house. It wasn't until months later that the authorities got involved and finally got a clear picture of the situation. While it was true that the house's residents appeared to be going insane, it didn't have anything to do with paranormal activity, but with the fact that a datura vine had been growing through the trees directly above the home and dropping leaves into the family's rainwater tank. For a long time, the family had been inadvertently consuming microdoses of the plant every single day, which made them slowly but surely start to lose their sanity as they sank further and further into delirium. In case you've never heard of it, datura is a species of plant within the nightshade family, also known as 𝗪𝗪𝗿, the devil's weed, or devil's trumpet, and you'll see why in a second. Even though the plant itself looks pretty harmless, it's known for having extremely powerful hallucinogenic properties, which is why it was used for centuries by Native American tribes in coming-of-age rituals and other important ceremonies. The Aztecs also used datura as a painkiller in certain rituals, namely in ritual sacrifices, and it's also commonly used as an ingredient in the ritual of zombification in the Haitian voodoo religion, where it's referred to as the devil's cucumber. As you can probably tell by now, datura isn't your typical recreative hallucinogen, and there's a reason why it's really only ever used in hardcore spiritual rituals and ceremonies, and sometimes by naive people who have no idea what they're getting themselves into. In low to medium doses, datura causes extremely distressing, delirious experiences, and in higher doses, it can lead to paralysis and even death. Nowadays, datura is recognized by most tribes as a highly toxic and dangerous plant, and have understandably stopped using it. Before we move on, I wanted to take a minute to talk about War Thunder, the sponsor of this video. As of recently, I've had a growing interest in history, specifically World War I and II, so when War Thunder reached out, it was perfect. War Thunder is an immersive, large-scale, realistic multiplayer action game where you take control of ground vehicles, aircraft, and naval vessels at locations all around the world. It's completely free to play, available on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. One thing I really like about the game is its realism. Forget unrealistic features like health bars. In War Thunder, every hit on an enemy has a real effect. Like, if you're accurate enough to hit a plane's fuel tank, it will ignite. And you can visualize all the damage you've done with the X-ray mode. War Thunder includes all advanced military technology like guided missiles or even a nuclear strike that can flatten entire maps, making for a true modern war experience. Plus, all vehicles in the game can be upgraded and improved with additional modules. Even visual changes like skins can be used to make your combat machine unique. The Seek and Destroy update is out now, which added new missiles with active radar homing, making aerial battles on modern aircraft even more engaging. And they added 2 new maps, Mysterious Valley and Bering Sea. If you've been wanting to try War Thunder, now is the time. You can download it for free by using the link in the description. New players and those who haven't played War Thunder for half a year or more will receive special bonuses, rentals for the P-40E1 aircraft and M4 tank for a week, along with 3 unique skins for them, a special decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, 3 premium vehicles for free, a week of premium account, and even more gifts. The American vehicle bonus season will end soon, so make sure you get in on it now.
So this is a scheduled request.
Stop taking meeting notes. Let ClickUp AI Note Taker do it for you. It allows you to focus on your meetings, not your notes. It captures everything from action items to key decisions. And after every call, you get a clear summary. But where it really goes to the next level is that it's the only AI note taker that connects your meetings to the rest of your work. So stop stressing about taking notes and get the AI note taker that works for you.
I'll look for someone who can cover
next
for
meeting.
this shift tomorrow. I'll update you right away. Are you able to pick up my phone call in the next few hours? Okay. All right. Okay. Can I also
I
send
always
you a
say
text
you
if in
can't
case
manage
you
what you
cannot
can't
take my
see.
call?
Monday.com shows you
Is
the
this a
full
mobile phone?
picture like that. Statuses, timelines, budgets,
Okay.
all in one
All
clear
right, thank you
dashboard.
so much.
I used to
Please
waste
wait
way
for
too
my
much time
call or
trying to figure out
text,
where everything
John.
was. Files were here, updates were there,
All right.
meetings.
Bye now.
So many meetings. Now that AI is basically baked into everything we do, I've got even more clarity. It tells me which projects actually align to our yearly goals, flags issues before they eat up time and budget. It's like having a built-in me in every project. It even recommends the right team members for each task. I know it sounds like you have to have a PhD to use AI, but with Monday.com, it couldn't be easier. I mean, hands down, I have no idea how I kept it all together before.
Start your free trial today at Monday.com, the first work platform you'll love to use.
𝗪𝗏𝗃. If you were to somehow go back to the 70s and spend some time in Staten Island, it probably wouldn't take you long to hear about an urban legend of a man named 𝗪𝗏𝗃. As the story went, 𝗪𝗏𝗃 was a serial kidnapper and killer who lost his son and resorted to stealing other people's children to deal with his grief. According to the legend, 𝗪𝗏𝗃 also had a hook for a hand, scars, burns, and open wounds covering his entire face and body, and a generally horrifying appearance. Considering the mass areas of uninhabited woodlands, it's not all that unexpected that a tale like the legend of 𝗏𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗏𝗀 would make it into the mainstream culture at some point. Unfortunately, this wasn't just a tall tale made up by Staten Island parents to keep their kids from venturing too far into the woods and getting lost. Although the legend has some obviously made-up elements such as the hooked hand and the horrifying scars and burns, at some point in the early 70s, children in Staten Island really did start disappearing. That's when the line between legend and reality started to blur, and the story of the real 𝗏𝗏𝗶𝗴𝗏 immediately replaced the urban legend. This is the real story. Andre Rand was a man from Manhattan who was born in 1944 and moved to Staten Island in the late 60s. After working for 2 years at the infamously brutal Willowbrook State School for Children with Disabilities, Rand was arrested in 1969 and served over a year in prison for the attempted attack of a 9-year-old girl. As soon as he was released 16 months later, reports started cropping up of more little girls disappearing all over Staten Island, including 5-year-old Alice Pereira, who was playing in her building's lobby when she suddenly disappeared without a trace. Over the next decade, Rand was the prime suspect in the disappearances and deaths of several other young girls in the area. But it wasn't until 1983 when he picked up 11 kids from a local YMCA and brought them fast food before taking them to the airport that he was finally arrested and sentenced to 10 months in prison again. Throughout the 70s and 80s, dozens of young kids disappeared in Staten Island, and although Rand was often the last person to be seen with them, there was ultimately never enough evidence to put him away for a long time. For many years, he would often be seen hanging around young kids, going on walks with them, and even taking them to lunch and dinner with him at local restaurants. After years of letting him walk the streets as a free man, police would finally have a breakthrough in the case in 1987 when they found undeniable evidence that Rand had been behind the disappearance and murder of Jennifer Schweiger, a 12-year-old girl with Down syndrome. In 1988, he was sentenced to 25 years to life, and while he was behind bars, more and more evidence was found that tied him to several other disappearances in Staten Island in the 70s and 80s. Unfortunately, he was only charged with one additional major crime in 2004, which was the kidnapping of Holly Ann Hughes, thanks to which he will spend the next 13 years behind bars until 2037. If he lives that long, he'll be 93 by the time he gets out. The Maine Hermit. The Kennebec Valley is one of the most beautiful regions in Maine, with over 5,000 square miles of forests, rolling hills, and natural paradise surrounding the Kennebec River. Many cabin owners of the North Pond area in the Kennebec Valley have described the area as the most peaceful place on Earth. But it hasn't always been that way. All throughout the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, there were reports of over 1,000 break-ins in the North Pond cabins. For decades, nobody knew who was responsible for the thefts, especially since they were always carried out when there was no one home. As the cabin owners soon noticed, the break-ins seemed to follow a pattern, always peaking in the days before Memorial Day and after Labor Day. As for the stolen items themselves, they ranged from food to cooking utensils to books to propane tanks to toiletries of all kinds. In the absence of a concrete suspect, the locals eventually named the thief the North Pond Hermit, even though by this point there was nothing to suggest the break-ins were being carried out by a single person. Although it wasn't uncommon for groups of homeowners to venture out into the woods to try to find the North Pond Hermit, they never found a trace, which only added to the legend's mystery. One afternoon in 2002, 100 people attended a North Pond homeowners meeting, and when someone asked how many of them had suffered break-ins, almost all of them raised their hands. As you can probably guess, the North Pond Hermit quickly turned into somewhat of a boogeyman, with the legend frequently being shared over campfires in the area. For years, nobody thought that the person or people behind the break-ins would ever be found. But in April 2013, a man named Christopher Thomas Knight was arrested in the middle of the woods in the North Pond area by an officer who had made it his sole mission to bring the thief to justice. As soon as he was brought to the police station, the cops asked him why he wasn't answering any of their questions. At first, it seemed as though he was having trouble speaking, but eventually he responded that he was ashamed of himself. As it was later revealed, Christopher had been living out in the middle of the woods by himself in an unheated nylon tent, surviving only on the things he stole from nearby North Pond cabins. Shockingly, he had survived winter temperatures of 20 degrees below zero for years and hadn't been to a doctor or taken any medicine for 3 decades. What's most incredible about the hermit's story is that for the entire time he lived in the woods, he didn't have a single conversation with another human being, except for one time when he ran into a hiker and only said hi. Understandably, Chris had lost interest in keeping track of time, so when he was asked how long he had been in the woods by himself, he replied, "Since the Chernobyl nuclear meltdown, which took place in 1986. As investigators later found out, he was 20 years old when he decided to become a hermit, just a couple of years after high school, although he never gave the authorities a real reason why he decided to disappear.
Hello, John. Good
In
afternoon.
all
This
his
is
years
still
of
Irene from
isolation, he went to
Compassionate
extreme
In-Home
lengths to
Caregiving.
preserve his privacy. He never lit fires, only moved at
Hello there.
night, and
Yep.
hadn't had any kind of
I'm having
communication with the
troubles
rest of society
looking
for
you
more
up
than
on
half of his
our
life. He'd
records.
never driven a car,
You
sent an
are
email,
located
or even known
in
what the
which?
internet was
Can
until
I
his
have your
arrest.
address so I can look it up?
Interestingly, as the cops dug deeper and deeper into his story, they realized that his only real possessions were his glasses, which he had been wearing for 30 years
Yep. I
and could
need
even
your
be seen in his
address,
Lawrence High
John,
School
so
yearbook
I can
picture
look
from
it up on our
1984.
records.
Everything else, down to his underwear and jacket, had been stolen. After the investigation,
Yes,
Knight was
please.
sentenced to 7 months in prison, after which he once again disappeared. According to the cops, he's now living a quiet, peaceful life in rural Maine.
Your email is your first online
Perfect.
impression.
That's all I
Make
need.
it count.
Thanks for taking
With
my call,
GoDaddy
John. I'm still
email,
looking for
you get a professional
caregiver
address
for you.
that matches your domain.
Talk to you later.
It builds trust, boosts
Thank
credibility,
you.
and
Bye.
helps grow your brand. Setup is quick, and your inbox is protected with built-in security. And if you ever need help, we're just a call away. Start building your brand, one email at a time.
Wash your body, my safeguard body wash. Yeah, oh my God, I'm skin namin. Brother, sister, and si Lolo rin. Now throw your bar soaps in the air. For no more EU body washes there. Safeguard body wash keeps the germs away.
Up to 24 hours, wala kang germs. Tried and tested, now we can confirm. Ang #1 family germ protection brand in the fight. Protected kasi germs all day and night.
Dumi at germs sa skin.
No, no, no.
Feeling unhealthy on skin.
No, no, no.
Deep clean and healthy skin feels a safeguard body wash.
Everybody, guards the body. My safeguard body wash. Better safeguard than sorry.
𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗶𝗶. Throughout the late 1980s and 90s, rumors of a massive bodybuilder called 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗶 began to surface in the northwest of England. According to the allegations, 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗶 would supposedly walk the streets of Liverpool hunting down young, muscular men and rugby players and oddly ask them if he would let them feel their muscles. If they complied, he would allegedly squeeze their muscles for much longer than was considered socially acceptable and would then ask them to perform squats so he could feel their quad muscles. Some teenagers reported that 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗶 even went as far as to ask them to pose for him and often offered exercise and nutrition advice for those who gave him the time. Because the rumors were so incredibly ridiculous, nobody really took them too seriously at first, and eventually the story of 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗶 turned into an urban legend with crazy details being gradually added to the tale, including one where 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗶 would allegedly swallow teenagers whole if they let him feel their muscles. But as time went on, it became clear that 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗶 wasn't just a made-up character created by bored teenagers looking to get some laugh from their friends, but a real person named 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗶. 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗴𝗶 was often seen traveling across England by train carrying a plastic bag and asking young men if he could feel their muscles. Naturally, this made a lot of people uncomfortable, and it wasn't uncommon for 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗴𝗶's face to be featured in local newspapers after several encounters with the law. Most of the accusations against him were related to his creepy behavior around teenage boys, but around 1986, the story of 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗶 took a really dark turn. Early that year, 16-year-old Gary Keller was walking home from school when he ran into 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗶, who immediately asked to feel his muscles. Freaked out by the weird request, Gary said no and ran away. Later that same year, 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗴𝗶 followed Gary to a local outdoor swimming pool, and when the teenager noticed, he ran to New Brighton train station and jumped onto the railroad tracks to get away from 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗶. Sadly, the story ended in tragedy, as Gary was accidentally electrocuted by one of the rails. Considering the whole thing happened because Gary was being chased, 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗶 was convicted of involuntary manslaughter, charged with harassing 14 different teenage boys, and sentenced to 2.5 years in prison. In 1988, 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗴𝗶 filed an appeal and complained that the only reason he had been convicted was because he was black. Ultimately, the judges agreed there wasn't enough evidence to prove a key had been directly responsible for Gary's death, and believe it or not, he was freed and awarded £35,000 in compensation. Between 1988 and 2006, Aki went in and out of jail for failing to resist his compulsion to touch, feel, and measure other people's muscles. And in 2003, he was arrested for an additional 15 charges of harassment and witness intimidation, for which he was sentenced to 6 years in prison. Just like any other predator, he was also forbidden from waiting outside schools in the area. A few months later, he was jailed for 15 months for getting up to his same antics. Upon his release, he was once again arrested a few weeks later in 2010 and then again in 2015. After his latest release, he reportedly moved to Leeds, where rumors started cropping up that he had passed away during the pandemic. However, those rumors were put to rest when videos started surfacing in 2023 of Aki walking the streets of Leeds asking random dudes to, you guessed it, feel their muscles. As of today, Purple Aki is alive and well, and will probably continue in his same behavior with or without permission for many years to come. 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗹𝗶𝗴𝗴𝗹𝗲. According to a Swiss urban legend, people have allegedly been running into a mysterious human-like figure in the Freiburg forest in the western part of the country near the town of 𝗪𝗏 since the early 2000s. Based on the dozens of allegations that surfaced over the years, the figure has been described as being around 6 feet tall and always wearing a vintage-looking gas mask covering his entire face, a boiler suit, and a cloak. Most people who supposedly ran into the figure reported he or she was completely harmless, but this didn't make the encounters any less terrifying, and it wasn't uncommon for people to report the figure to the police when their children reported feeling scared. As expected, it didn't take local residents long to start adding their own crazy twist to the story, with some claiming that the creature was the ghost of a mentally unstable soldier, while other popular theories assured it was an alien. For a while, the story was classified as an urban legend, and the mysterious humanoid was given the name 𝗧𝗵𝗹𝗶𝗴𝗹𝗏, also known as the ghost or the hermit of malls. Throughout the early 2000s, 𝗧𝗵𝗹𝗶𝗴𝗏 was mostly the subject of local oral legend because there was no real evidence to support its existence. But in 2013, the story gained international attention when the Swiss/French newspaper Les Matins published the first ever photograph of 𝗧𝗵𝗹𝗶𝗴𝗏, which was sent in by a hiker. After the photograph was published, there was no turning back, as people from all over the country started to make trips to the woods outside malls for a chance to catch a glimpse of 𝗧𝗵𝗹𝗶𝗴𝗏. The last known sighting of 𝗧𝗵𝗹𝗶𝗴𝗏 took place in June 2013 when a local woman named Marianne Desclous saw the figure clutching a bunch of flowers as she was walking outside. Later that year, 𝗧𝗵𝗹𝗶𝗴𝗏 clothes were found in the middle of the woods along with a wooden note titled "The Death Certificate and Will of the Ghost des Malls." In the letter, 𝗧𝗵𝗹𝗶𝗴𝗏 accused the media of having murdered a harmless being by revealing its existence and turning him into a circus freak. The letter also mentioned that due to the unwanted attention, 𝗧𝗵𝗹𝗶𝗴𝗏 had to abandon its daily walks, which were referred to as happiness therapy in the letter. After the cryptic note was published in the newspaper, many people concluded that 𝗧𝗵𝗹𝗶𝗴𝗏 had taken its own life, although this has never been confirmed. As of 2024, nobody has ever seen 𝗧𝗵𝗹𝗶𝗴𝗏's true face, and many people have theorized that the figure was possibly a woman with a facial disfiguration who didn't want people to see her, which is supposedly why she wore the gas mask. But this line of reasoning will probably remain unconfirmed forever.
One day, I will create a website where I will sell my handmade merch, Yeti style, limited edition.
One day, your idea will vanish if you don't bring it online with a website. Create yours with a Hostinger and turn one day into day one.
So, why were you here?
Would it kill you to read a brief?
Yeah, it might.
We don't want another Venice situation.
Remember, they cannot be allowed to plant that spike. Or we can just kill them all.
Let heal.
We stick together. We fight together. We win together. Where's Phoenix?
They're coming straight in. Trust me, I've got nothing.
Drive them back!
We can't hold this!
They're pushing! Get out of there!
We need to pull back. We can't. If they detonate that spike, there will be nothing. About damn time.
Seriously? What's the move?
We kill them all.
You wanna fight and we happen to fight.
Go.
Some with this effort, you know I survived.
Where's the spike? I suppose we can call that a victory.
We haven't won. This is just the beginning.
That was one hell of a brief.
I am the man.
We need something that will change the game.
The Bunny Man. In the early 70s, dozens of locals started reporting that a man dressed up as a bunny had started haunting the residential neighborhoods around DC, Maryland, and Northern Virginia. Although dressing up as a bunny in itself seems pretty harmless, what made the encounters a little scarier was that the guy would allegedly threaten children on the street with an axe and frequently vandalize people's property for no apparent reason. Even though sightings of the so-called Bunny Man were pretty rare, they seemed to follow a pattern, as the man usually appeared in secluded locations where there weren't a lot of witnesses. The story itself has a lot of elements of a typical urban legend and is kind of hard to believe, but through my research I found that it's all loosely based on a true story. In 1970, a couple was parked in a driveway close to a bridge on Colchester Road in Fairfax County when suddenly a random guy appeared out of nowhere, yelled at them for allegedly trespassing, and threw a hatchet at their car. Terrified, the couple left the area immediately before they had a chance to get a good look at the guy. As they reported the incident to the police, they mentioned the guy had been dressed in light-colored clothing and may or may not have been wearing something white on his head. Although the couple never mentioned anything about a bunny in their statement, as soon as the story hit the news, people started claiming that the hatchet thrower had been wearing bunny ears. Pretty soon, rumors of a man in a bunny suit threatening kids in the woods with a hatchet started surfacing all over the DMV area, and as the years went by, the stories got wilder and harder to believe. Over time, the legend of the Bunny Man has become pretty mainstream, with the bridge on Colchester Road even being renamed as Bunny Man Bridge. As of the uploading of this video, the legend has now been standardized and goes something like this. In 1904, there was allegedly an asylum close to the bridge on Colchester Road. As soon as it was built, a bunch of Fairfax County residents started complaining about the idea of having an asylum full of mental patients so close to their homes, so the authorities supposedly put all the patients in a bus and transferred them to a nearby prison. But on the way to the prison, the bus crashed and all the patients escaped. As the story goes, a few hours later the cops had successfully located and brought back all the patients except for one guy by the name of Douglas Griffin. This is where the legend gets a little weird. Allegedly, the fugitive patient hid in the woods from the authorities for weeks. As the days went by and the cops did everything to find him, rabbit corpses started to appear in the middle of the woods, which led everyone to believe Douglas was eating bunnies to stay alive. Then, one Halloween night, a group of kids were hanging out near the bridge on Colchester Road when they suddenly saw a blue orb flashing in midair. A second later, they were all strung up like bunnies hanging from the bridge. As the legend goes, if you go to Bunny Man Bridge on Halloween night at midnight, the same thing will happen to you. Obviously, none of this is true, but it just goes to show how much of an impact the story of the Bunny Man has had on mainstream Virginia, DC, and Maryland culture. Nowadays, there's even Bunny Man t-shirts, a Bunny Man horror movie franchise, Bunny Man beer, and everything in between. Needless to say, the area surrounding the railroad overpass near Fairfax Station is now a major attraction for both tourists and locals alike, and will probably remain that way for many years.
My work is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how I get perfect notes from every meeting. I click this toggle to send my AI note taker to my meetings, even if I can't attend. My AI note taker records the entire meeting and creates a full transcript. After the meeting, I get a doc with the recording, takeaways, and even the action items. AI turns these action items into tasks so we actually get things done. ClickUp makes work easy, from personal projects to running a multi-billion-dollar company. Click the link below to create your workspace for free.
You don't deserve to settle, so play a game that won't either. We've introduced major changes to agents, weapons, and maps, and this is just the beginning.
Abandoned by Disney. Abandoned by Disney is a whole series of creepypastas surrounding Disney's alleged unexplained abandonment of certain resorts in the Bahamas and in the US. The Abandoned by Disney creepypasta was originally written by 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗹𝗶, a well-known internet horror writer who's created several viral creepypastas including Funny Mouth, I Hate You, and Lost Episodes. The Abandoned by Disney story basically goes that at some undefined point in the 2000s, Disney allegedly spent $30 million on a resort in the Bahamas called Treasure Island, which, according to the story, they supposedly later abandoned without a convincing reason. Based on the creepypasta, there was another resort that Disney abandoned under mysterious circumstances. This one was located near the beachside city of Emerald Isle in North Carolina, and it was supposed to be a jungle-themed resort by the name of Mowgli's Palace. According to 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗹𝗶, the project was extremely controversial from the start, as Disney allegedly did some pretty sketchy stuff to acquire the land they required for the palace. Still, the creepypasta mentions that construction for Mowgli's Palace did end up getting completed and even started to receive tourists for a while before being unexplainably abandoned in some pretty murky circumstances. The author of the story then alleges that he ended up visiting the abandoned resort to take some pictures and see what he could find, and that's where the creepypasta gets pretty disturbing. Based on the story, the resort had pretty much been stripped bare and left to rot over the years. Most of the things that were big enough to take back from the resort had been stolen, leaving only desks, refrigerators, abandoned statues, other miscellaneous objects, and the buildings themselves to show for the once functional Mowgli's Palace. Allegedly, Disney had also released their exotic animals onto the grounds upon abandoning the resort, including the sharks they once kept in their aquarium and their 80-foot-long pythons, one of which supposedly slithered right in front of the creepypasta author, who initially assumed it was a statue. Disturbingly, the creepypasta mentions that dozens of walls, staircases, and objects lying around the resort had been spray-painted with the words "Abandoned by Disney," possibly by disgruntled employees who were fed up with Disney's sketchy doings. At one point in the story, the author allegedly went down the stairs into a room that was labeled mascots only and came across a photo-negative version of a Mickey Mouse costume that somehow came to life and pulled its own head off in front of the author to scare him. Now, obviously, pretty much every single detail about this story from start to finish is completely fake. The same goes for every other story that's a part of this Abandoned by Disney creepypasta series. But it actually was based on some real events. There was once a real resort on a real island that Disney mysteriously abandoned back in the late 90s. Between 1974 and 1999, Discovery Island in Bay Lake, Florida was a popular Disney attraction open to the public, who were drawn there by the dozens of wild animal species roaming around the tropical landscape. Disturbingly, the resort ended up getting charged with animal cruelty after the company admitted that a few vultures had died after being captured by their employees. For unrelated, unspecified, and mysterious reasons, Disney Island was closed in 1999, and the name Discovery Island was passed on to one of the lands in Disney's Animal Kingdom. Since its closing, the island was pretty much left abandoned to rot under the elements, and over the years its structures have sustained major hurricane damage. Interestingly, as of 2024, all buildings and attractions of the original resort remain on the island, which gives it a pretty creepy and nostalgic vibe. Nowadays, the area is fully off limits to the public, but that hasn't stopped a few urban explorers from venturing out into the island and finding some pretty disturbing stuff. In 2004, urban explorer 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗹𝗹 visited the island 5 years after its abandonment, swimming through 300 feet of freezing cold alligator-infested Florida lake water to reach Discovery Island and spend the night exploring the remains of the mysterious resort. Interestingly, during their visit, Shane and his friends discovered that several lights throughout the island were still somehow working. And a little more disturbingly, they found all kinds of odd things in the abandoned sheds, including snakes stuffed in Coke bottles and a bunch of animals that were left behind by Disney when the island closed, which is pretty similar to what was mentioned in the fictional creepypasta. Although Shane and his friends were only able to explore half of the island before the sun rose again, they uploaded all of their findings onto a now infamous blog post that ended up being featured on the news. Obviously, this didn't make Disney look too good, and as a result of trespassing, Shane was banned from all Disney resorts for the rest of his life. But he triggered a wave of intrigue around the island that has endured until this day. Over the years, a few more urban explorers have attempted to explore the island, leading to some pretty interesting videos, blog posts, and pictures. Nowadays, the island is under extremely heavy 24/7 surveillance, which would make it almost impossible to explore for a regular civilian. Still, the abandoned island turned creepypasta was one of the dozens of things that have irreparably damaged the public's perception of Disney, as it's pretty clear that behind the cute mouse costumes and the fairy tale facade, there's a bunch of stuff the higher-ups of the company definitely don't want the public to see.
Sharing ng sabon? Sharing din ng iyo. Not on my wash! Safeguard Body Wash. Walang sharing ng iyo. Pwede sa buong pamilya. Healthy skin feel, kills germs and deep cleans. Shared iyo? Not on my wash! Use Safeguard Body Wash.
Are you okay?
Ako, baka mamiss ko deadline ni client. At first signs of sore throat, take Strepsils. Clinically proven to kill viruses and bacteria, providing fast relief in 60 seconds. No problem. Put your best throat forward.
The Smiling Man. In April 2012, a Reddit user named Blue Title posted a story titled The Smiling Man. The story basically goes that at some point in 2012, Blue Title went for a solo walk in the middle of the night in Seattle, Washington after his roommate had fallen asleep. At some point in the evening between the hours of 1 a.m. and 2 a.m., he saw a strange-looking man dancing at the other end of the street. In the user's own words, it was a strange dance, similar to a waltz, but he finished each box with an odd forward stride. I guess you could say he was dance-walking, headed straight for me. At first, Blue Title tried to walk past him, giving the man as much space as possible to avoid coming into contact with him, but the guy just kept dancing closer and closer. What's most disturbing about the account is the way the user describes the man's appearance. Based on the original post, the man was tall and lanky, wore an old suit, and had an extremely eerie expression on his face. His eyes were wide open and his head was tilted back to look at the sky. Even more unsettling, his mouth was twisted into a forced-looking smile that seemed permanently fixed on his face. To make a long story short, the smiling man ended up chasing Blue Title for several blocks until the user eventually outran him and made it back to his apartment safely. There's a lot more detail to the chase, but I'm leaving out some of it for simplicity. Based on what was mentioned in the post, the user continued to live in that city for another 6 months and never went out on another solo late-night walk again. Now, this is usually the kind of story that you would read and immediately dismiss as fake, but the Smiling Man is one of those posts that there's no good reason to believe it's not true. After the story was posted, the Smiling Man turned into something of an urban legend and became a classic creepypasta, often being featured in horror forms and even being turned into multiple different viral short films over the years. Still, the original story was not designed to be a creepypasta as it came to be over time. The author has continued to insist it's real. For context, the Let's Not Meet subreddit, which is where the story was originally posted, was created for people to share their true accounts of scary in-person encounters they experienced firsthand. As per the guidelines of the subreddit, no fictional or paranormal stories are allowed, and any indication that a story was made up usually results in the post being immediately removed. All this to say that the Let's Not Meet admins make a big effort to keep the subreddit clean from any kind of stories that are obviously fake. That's not to say that some fabricated stories don't slip through the cracks from time to time, but I don't think the Smiling Man is one of them. Looking into Blue Title's activity on other subreddits, I found that they seem pretty honest and genuine, often discussing martial arts, music, and other topics unrelated to creepypastas and internet horror lore. The fact that the Smiling Man is pretty much the only story the user has told since opening his account in 2012 is a pretty good indication that it's true.
Can I have one, please?
On top of that, dozens of users over the years have claimed to have seen the Smiling Man themselves, and a lot of the times it's the original author himself who shows up in the threads to fact-check them and call them out when they're embellishing the story or fabricating details that are obviously fake. And sure, this is by no means 100% definitive proof that the Smiling Man was real, but I'm honestly inclined to believe that this actually happened. As for what the Smiling Man's intentions were on that night in 2012, it's really anyone's guess. I'd probably guess the guy was either under the influence of drugs, mentally insane, or really going out of his way to mess with Blue Title for no reason. With so many years having gone by since this incident took place, we'll likely never know. The only thing we can be sure of is that it's probably a good thing the OP ran away when he did. You never know what someone who's clearly not in their right mind is capable of, especially when there are no witnesses around. The year was 1991. In April of 2015, a Reddit user with the mysterious name 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗹𝗶𝗴𝗹𝗲 posted a harrowing story in the No Sleep subreddit where he shared his first-hand experience of what it was like witnessing a 4-year-old get kidnapped from a school playground in the early 90s. Now, it's important to keep in mind that the No Sleep subreddit doesn't always feature true stories. In fact, it almost never does. It's pretty much entirely creepypastas. But you'll see why that's not so relevant in a second. The post was titled "The Year Was 1991," and in it, the OP basically tells the story of how he arrived at a school sports field to toss around a ball with some family friends on a warm spring day. As soon as he arrived at the field, the OP allegedly saw a little boy in a blue jacket running on the playground close to the playing field. Suddenly, a suspicious-looking dark van pulled up to the playground and parked right over the hopscotch outline. A few seconds later, a man in a sketchy-looking, low-quality bear costume got out of the vehicle, promised the little boy some candy, and put him in the back of the van before driving away. Based on the post, the uploader immediately got into his vehicle and tried to catch up with the van, but because he was so unfamiliar with the area, he ended up getting lost. As soon as he called 911, the operator allegedly scolded him for prank calling and hung up on him. It wasn't until the next day that the OP supposedly saw in the news that a 4-year-old boy named 𝗪𝗿𝗀𝗍 had disappeared from a school playground the day before. Interestingly, through my research, I was able to find that 𝗪𝗿𝗀𝗍 was a real kid that had disappeared, and it really did take place on a school playground in 1991, which makes this Reddit post incredibly creepy. The real story goes that on March 24th, 1991, 𝗪𝗿𝗀𝗍, Michael's mother, was going to participate in a women's flag football practice at Blandshart Elementary School in Victoria, British Columbia. As soon as she arrived with her son at the school at around 12:30 p.m., Michael asked if he could go to the playground by himself. Immediately, Crystal felt that something wasn't right, but she let her son walk to the playground by himself under the condition that he had to stay there until his dad arrived at the school. Unfortunately, by the time his dad arrived, Michael was gone. A search was immediately launched, and Michael was officially declared a missing person. That day, the little boy had been wearing a blue hooded jacket, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles t-shirt, rugby pants, and blue sneakers. But despite the massive search effort, which quickly became one of the largest police investigations in Canadian history, Michael was never seen again. Over the years, the cops have received over 11,000 tips on the disappearance, but none of them have led to anything significant. Strangely, even though there were dozens of people at the school field that day, there were no witnesses to Michael's disappearance. And the only thing that they could get out of a nearby passerby was that a man in his late 40s or early 50s with a brown van was seen near the playground around the time of the disappearance. Overall, a lot of the details from the official investigation match up perfectly with the Reddit post, but the majority of them were never confirmed by the cops. It's likely that the OP completely made the story up. But that doesn't change the fact that this is at least based on a real event that happened. Sadly, because the disappearance took place over 35 years ago, it's unlikely that Michael will ever be found at this point.
Website where I will sell my handmade merch, Yeti style, limited edition.
Build your website faster than Yeti with Hostinger Horizons and turn your one day into day one.
Bakit sa mga inasal? Matik! Uy! Di lang pagkain ang napapasarap. Dito, anli ang bigayan. Right! Kaya napapasarap ang labanan! masasaya. Kaya napapasarap ang
Tawanan!
walang husgahan, magiging totoo lang. Ganyan talaga dito, kaya napapasarap pagkain mang inasal.
The Alice Killings. The Alice Killings is a Japanese urban legend according to which from 1999 to 2005, a series of brutal, unexplainable murders took place in multiple different towns in Japan. Based on the legend, each victim's life was taken in a very different fashion, and the only thing that tied the murders together was the fact that a playing card was found near or on the victims' bodies when they were found by cops or passers-by. Disturbingly, the legend mentions that on the playing cards, the killer would write the name Alice in the victim's blood. For example, one of the victims was allegedly buried in a shallow grave with a Queen of Clubs marking its entrance. Another card with the King of Diamonds was found crammed into the hand of another victim at a bar. Over time, people started putting their own twists on the urban legend, turning it into a creepypasta and adding all kinds of details to the original story, as usually happens online. But even though the specific details in the story of the Alice Killings are all fake, they're all based on a completely true story that's just as terrifying as the creepypasta. In 2003, an ex-military guy turned security officer in Madrid, Spain, named Alfredo Galán Sotillo shot a 50-year-old man named Juan Francisco Ledesma in the head in front of his 2-year-old son. From there, Alfredo went on to kill another 5 victims over the next month, all of them picked completely randomly and for no good reason. After taking his second victim's life, he left a tarot card with an ace of clubs near the crime scene, after which, as you can probably guess, the media started sensationalizing the case, giving Alfredo much more attention than he deserved. And thanks to that, he went on to kill another 4 victims and severely injure another 3, often leaving tarot cards at the scene to fit the picture the media had made of him. In addition to the cards, the killer did have a particular MO in the way he took his victims' lives. All of them were shot at point-blank range, and all of them were picked at random, unlike most serial killers who often stalk and get to know their victims before taking their lives. On July 3, 2003, the playing card killer, as he quickly became known, turned himself into the police in a severely intoxicated state, immediately confessing to the string of murders that had taken Madrid by storm that year. As soon as he sobered up, he tried to take back his confession, but at that point it was too late, as he had already revealed to the cops certain details about the pen markings on the cards that weren't even made public. Disturbingly, during the investigation, it was revealed that before carrying out his gruesome crimes, the killer would wish his victims good morning and order them to kneel down before executing them. That same year, Galán was sentenced to 142 years in prison, a punishment he's serving to this day. In 2023, Netflix made a documentary about him titled The Playing Card Killer. And at the end of the day, that's probably what these killers really want deep down, attention. But fortunately, he won't be getting out anytime soon. And let's just hope the crazy amount of attention the media gives these killers doesn't motivate more lunatics to seek notoriety through these kinds of crimes. The Doppelganger. The Doppelganger is a pretty well-known creepypasta that tells the fictional story of a kid named Trey who lived with his parents in a small rural county in eastern Tennessee. Based on the original Reddit post titled The Doppelganger, Trey's father Henry was a county warden who usually came home from work late in the evenings. One night, Henry came home and hesitantly let his wife and son know that one of his coworkers had been missing for 2 days. That same night, Trey's mom and dad made him promise that he wouldn't open the door for anyone, even for his own parents. The next day, Henry announced to his family that his coworker Mike's body had been found by a creek. Disturbingly, he also mentioned that even though Mike had only been reported missing for 2 days, his body was declared to be at least 2 weeks old when the authorities found him. This of course meant that somebody had been posing as Mike for several days, spending time with his family and going through his days pretending to be him. That night, when Trey went up to his room, he heard a knock on his window. It was his dad's voice asking to let him in, and claiming that he had just gone outside to check on something and had accidentally locked himself out. Eerily, that's when Trey's dad appeared in his doorframe, holding a finger up to his lips, signaling for his son to be quiet. After scaring away whoever was at the window, the family went down to sit together at the kitchen table, fearing for their lives. Later that evening, the impersonator once again tried to enter the house, pretending to be Trey's dad. This time, Henry called his officer friends over who agreed to help him track down whoever or whatever it was that was pretending to be him. While his dad was out, Trey went up to his room to hide under the blankets, and when his dad came back, he scolded him and his mother for having left the front door unlocked. Still, the family went to sleep, and the next morning, Trey woke up to an overpowering smell coming from his parents' bedroom. He immediately realized his parents weren't home. Upon opening his parents' closet door, the body of a woman who looked just like his mother tumbled out and onto the floor. As soon as his parents got home, they made up a story to explain what had happened, softening some of the details so their son wouldn't end up even more traumatized. The creepypasta ends with Trey noticing that his dad's hair is a different shade of black than it usually was, leaving the story on a cliffhanger. Obviously, pretty much everything in the creepypasta is entirely made up. But the story itself was based on an illness called 𝗪𝗏 syndrome, which is a real psychiatric condition in which people end up convinced that their family members and other people close to them have been replaced by imposters or doppelgangers. Through my research, I found that people with 𝗪𝗏 syndrome often end up becoming aggressive and even violent with the loved ones they accuse of being imposters. And disturbingly, a pretty clear correlation has been found between 𝗪𝗏 syndrome and violent homicides within families. I also found that people with pre-existing neurological disorders such as Parkinson's disease, epilepsy, and stroke are more prone to developing 𝗪𝗏 syndrome, as well as people who suffer from schizophrenia and similar illnesses. One particular case that caught my attention involved a 24-year-old male veteran who turned himself into the police to confess that he had allegedly been violent with his girlfriend. Interestingly, when the cops called his girlfriend to get her side of the story, she mentioned that the allegations were completely false and that her boyfriend had no history of violence. What followed was a pretty confusing series of events where the patient ended up revealing that he was convinced his entire family were imposters. Disturbingly, he claimed that his mother had been replaced by a government employee who had been sent to elicit a confession from him about his behavior while he was in the military. Apparently, the guy felt guilty about having taken naps during work hours and punching a wall during boot camp and was scared that his mother would find out about it. Even though the man claimed he had also been violent with his mother, she denied the allegations and assured the doctors that her son was not a violent person. Fortunately, after treatment, the guy was okay. But I can't imagine how terrifying it must be both to wake up convinced that your family isn't really your family and to no longer be recognized by someone you love.
Stop taking meeting notes and let ClickUp AI Note Taker do it for you. It allows you to focus on your meetings, not your notes. It captures everything, from action items to key decisions. And after every call, you get a clear summary. But where it really goes to the next level is that it's the only AI note taker that connects your meetings to the rest of your work. So stop stressing about taking notes and get the AI note taker that works for you. Get ClickUp AI Note Taker for your next meeting.
You don't deserve to settle, so play a game that won't either. We've made major changes to agents, weapons, and maps. We turned down the volume on abilities slightly so that sweet gunplay gets a bigger slice of the spotlight. And we've shaved off some hard edges on a couple of frustrating map locations. We'll continue to do whatever necessary to make sure every emerging Valorant meta is the best one yet. So come play.
Watch me speak, about to take over your screen. Talking bones in 93, talking mama, I'm on TV.
In 2017, Alex downloaded Tinder for the first time in his life. Because he'd never had much success with women and he didn't consider himself too attractive, he figured he might as well try his luck with dating apps. As is often the case for average-looking guys in online dating, Alex initially didn't get a lot of attention from the kind of girls he wanted to meet up with. But things took a turn when pretty soon he got a message from a pretty blonde girl named Katie. At first, Alex assumed she was either a bot or a catfisher, as she was by far the most attractive girl who had ever paid him any real attention on the app. Being that it was his first time on the app, he didn't know entirely how to act. I mean, on the one hand, if Katie was a real girl, he didn't want to screw things up with her by ghosting her.
Hello, Jan.
But
This
on
is
the
still
other hand,
Irene
he didn't want to
from
entertain any
Compassionate
bot
In-Home
or walk
Caregiving.
into any obvious trouble.
Yep.
After
I already
overthinking for
confirmed it
several
with the
hours,
admin team,
Alex
and
finally
Cheryl will
decided to
be
just
there
ignore the
tomorrow at
text,
9 a.m.
frustrated by his unexciting introduction to online dating.
Thank you. Have a good night.
But
See you
unlike
tomorrow.
most bots who usually don't
Bye now.
message people more than once after being ignored, Katie reached out to him once again just 3 days later. In the back of his mind, he was still a little bit suspicious, but he was strongly considering the possibility that Katie was a real person. And after taking a more in-depth look at her profile, he decided to give her a chance and texted her back, thinking what's the worst that could happen. Against all expectations, Alex and Katie hit it off immediately, like to the point where they were messaging each other pretty much every day. Having that nagging feeling in the back of his mind that she actually wasn't real the entire time, he finally asked her to prove she was real by having a video call. And she had no problem doing that. Fast forward a couple of weeks, and they were having phone conversations and video calls all the time. It was pretty much clear that Katie was a real person. After talking with Alex on Tinder for about a month, Katie suggested that Alex should go and visit her. Even though he trusted her by this point, he was still hesitant to meet up with a girl he met up online, especially considering the fact that they were 8 hours apart. But Katie continued to insist, and after weighing all his options, Alex finally accepted, figuring he could take off a day or two to go see if they actually had any in-person chemistry.
You're the sweetest.
When the day came, he was nervous, but the last thing he wanted to do was cancel on her. So he started to drive to Katie's place. However, not long into it, he started to notice something was a little off. She messaged him almost compulsively to ask him where it was and how long until he was going to be there. Even though she must have known Alex was driving, whenever he took more than half an hour to respond, she would spam him with texts, insisting he check his phone more often. It threw him off a bit, of course, but Alex was nervous, and so he chalked it up to her being nervous as well. He kept driving, and as he got closer to the location Katie had given him, he realized it was going to be harder than he thought to find the house. The directions were pretty confusing, and he had to drive through a series of gravel roads surrounded by thick trees to get to the location. Every road kind of just looked the same. After driving around in probably multiple circles for what felt like hours, he finally made it to Katie's at about 2 p.m. He was immediately surprised by how old the house looked. There was a boarded-up window on the second floor, and the building looked like it had seen better days for sure. Still, he caught a glimpse of the red buggy that Katie loved to talk about over text, and feeling slightly comforted, he parked right in front of the garage. He texted her that he was there, and Katie replied with a single smiley face. It was a bit weird, but he figured that was the go-ahead to get out of the car and finally knock on the door, so he did so. And that's when he noticed an older guy staring down at him from one of the second-floor windows. The drive there had already been pretty strange, but this was by far the creepiest thing that had happened to him ever since he left his house.
I used to say, if I hear AI one more time, I'm gonna lose it. But Monday.com is super easy to use and knows how to do AI right. My team quit going through endless documents ourselves. Monday Sidekick handles that now, pulling the crucial info and then prioritizing based on whatever we need. So stuff that takes my team hours is now done before they even open their laptop. I use it for insights and action suggestions constantly, especially on those back-to-back meeting days. All these AI features are built directly into Monday.com and actually use our real data. With Monday.com, AI isn't some over-promising future. It's here. It just works. Like, actually saves us time and resources kind of work.
Monday Sidekick, AI you'll love to use. Start a free trial today at Monday.com.
This is orange.
Your email is your first online impression. Make it count. With GoDaddy Email, you get a professional address that matches your domain. It builds trust, boosts credibility, and helps grow your brand. Setup is quick, and your inbox is protected with built-in security. And if you ever need help, we're just a call away. Start building your brand, one email at a time.
Orange.
Still, he did remember one time over the phone how Katie had talked about her dad and how he would sometimes visit her, and he assumed the man on the second floor must have been him.
Are you not sharing?
Again, going back to feeling nervous, he finally knocked on the front door, where Katie appeared a few seconds later, inviting him in with a warm smile. Even though he FaceTimed her multiple times, so he pretty much already knew she was real. After all the things that had happened, he was pretty relieved to actually see her in person. She gave him a hug, and he breathed a bit of a sigh of relief. They talked for a little while, and that's when Alex asked her why she hadn't told him about her dad being there that day. Katie's face instantly showed confusion, and she responded that her dad was halfway across the country and wasn't planning on visiting for at least a few weeks. As far as she knew, she was home alone. Thinking she was obviously just trying to scare him now, Alex kind of rolled his eyes and explained how he had seen her dad looking at him through the second floor window when he got out of his car. That's when Katie's face turned an obvious pale color, and she whispered to Alex that they had to leave the house immediately. Surprised by the seriousness of her reaction, his heart kind of fell to the bottom of his chest, realizing they might be in serious danger. They went out the front door and got a good view of the house a good distance away, and that's when Alex begged for an explanation. According to Katie, she wasn't expecting any other visitors, and she didn't know who the old man was or how he had even gotten in. Alex called the police as Katie was sort of standing behind him, and that's when he heard her kind of gasp and point up at the second floor window. There again was the old man looking down at them. He looked sort of old and frail, as if he hadn't eaten in several days. As soon as he noticed that he had been noticed, he sort of backed away, slowly disappearing into the darkness of the rest of the house and out of view from Katie and Alex. Pretty terrified from the sight, the two of them got into Alex's car, where they locked the doors and waited for police to arrive. They didn't want to fully leave the premises because they wanted to be there when the police arrived, but they also wanted some sort of safety to protect them if any sort of danger came their way from this man. 2 police officers arrived about 30 minutes later. They happily searched the entire house from top to bottom. However, they didn't find anything, except the back door hanging wide open, but the man himself was nowhere to be seen inside the house. The cops couldn't really do anything at that point, so they kind of just told the two to go back inside and make sure all the doors and windows are locked and to call them back if anything else happened. They left, and Katie, pretty understandably, was too scared to spend the night alone, and so Alex agreed to stay with her downstairs on the couch to avoid going to the second floor. Katie explained how her dad owned a shotgun, and so the two of them grabbed it and put it by their side as they sat there. They sort of tried to fall asleep, and a couple hours later, Katie actually managed to do so. But Alex sort of felt an obligation to protect her, and so he remained awake watching TV with the shotgun now on his lap. Ever since the cops had left, the night was going pretty peacefully, and Alex, kind of forgetting about what had all happened, he even thought he might still have a chance with Katie the next day. But at around 2 a.m., Alex started to hear the sound of a doorknob being turned in the upstairs kitchen. Horrified, he tightened his grip on the shotgun, determined to scare away whoever was trying to get into the house. He slowly walked up the stairs to the kitchen, where he turned on a light so his presence would be known. He pointed the shotgun at the door that was making the noise, and to his horror, on the other side of the glass door, he saw the same frail-looking old man from earlier that afternoon. For a guy who was blatantly breaking and entering, the man looked shocked to see Alex, but after a couple of seconds, he turned around and ran off into the woods once again. He immediately went downstairs to wake up Katie and told her what had happened, and called the cops for the second time that day. Again, they took about 30 minutes to arrive, and this time, instead of searching just the house, they also searched the surrounding woods. However, the old man again was nowhere to be found. All they could do this time was suggest to Katie and Alex to go sleep somewhere else for the night, as obviously this house was not safe. Realistically, Alex realized that they probably should have done this after the first time of seeing him, but he was kind of just going along with Katie. Obviously, he realized this wasn't the best first date, but he was just happy that the two of them were okay. The cops left, and so Alex and Katie sort of said their goodbyes, and Katie went to go spend the night at her friend's house. Alex hung around for a little while longer to call his brother and tell him about what had happened. A few minutes later, sitting in his car on the phone with his brother and about to pull away, he saw someone move out of the corner of his eye. He noticed it was the same old man standing in front of the house watching him. He put the pedal to the floor and told his brother what was happening, sort of as it was happening. After he got off the phone with his brother, he debated calling Katie and telling her what had happened. He didn't really want to, knowing that it might scare her, but ultimately he decided he probably should. Although he did end up going on a couple of dates with Katie after that, he said he never fully got over the incident, and they eventually broke things off. According to Alex, Katie never went back to that house alone.
What letter is this? That letter.
Power. Sang bata?
P.
Grabing sibo.
Super limpyo. Basta joy.
Isang bata.
Green. Pink. And white. Oh.
In 2015, Ryan Nolan was 20 years old and was enjoying all that Tinder had to offer. Aside from the occasional bad date where he got stood up or just didn't connect with the girl he met up with, he was pretty happy with the way things were going for him on the app overall. One weekend in the winter, he made plans to visit some friends at Indiana University in Bloomington. Just to hang out, go out, and have fun. The first night he was there, everything went according to plan, and Ryan had a blast partying with his buddies. At some point during the weekend, he figured he might as well get on Tinder to try and meet up with a cute girl in Bloomington and see where things went. Like usual for Ryan, it didn't take long for him to get a match, and after talking to this girl named Jane for a little less than a day, they started making plans to meet up that same evening. Jane was pretty attractive and fun to talk to, so he thought, why not? After letting his friends know he was going to meet up with his Tinder date, he left the apartment and made the 5-minute drive to her place. As soon as he got to the building, he texted Jane in the app and asked her which door he was supposed to go in. He waited for her to respond as he sat in his car, but soon realized that was kind of stupid, and so he got out of his car and started walking around the complex to hopefully give her an idea of where he was, and maybe he'd see her outside her door. After a while, as he was walking, Jane finally responded, and Ryan finally could walk to the right door. He stepped in front of it and texted her back to meet him at the door and let him in, assuming the door would be locked. Keep in mind, it was about 10 p.m. in the dead of winter. He looked back and forth from his phone screen to see if she responded, back to the door to see if she was answering it. That's when he noticed movement from the corner of his eye coming from one of the windows. He took a better look and saw what looked like 4 different people looking at him through the blinds. He thought it was pretty creepy, but he also didn't know that window was to Jane's specific apartment. It could have been one of her neighbors or something, and he also wasn't in the best part of town, so he kind of just brushed it off. He again texted Jane to ask her where she was. Less than a minute later, his phone dinged, and it was her replying that the front door to the complex was already open. He was kind of surprised that she would leave the door unlocked so late at night, especially in this part of town. He walked in and shut the door behind him. There was only one dim light, so he couldn't really see anything and was fidgeting around the wall looking for a light switch. Almost immediately, he heard a voice behind an apartment door whisper, "He's right outside the door." That's when he realized the window he saw outside was to Jane's apartment. It was just to a different room. He got a strong gut reaction telling him he was in danger, and he quickly sprinted out of the complex. Now running, he went to his car and hightailed it out of there as fast as he could. The whole way back, he couldn't stop thinking about what would have happened to him had he continued further, thinking some sort of Jane was actually in there. He was starting to realize that Jane probably didn't exist at all, and that thought alone sent shivers down his spine. When he got back to his friend's place, he explained everything to them about what had happened, but they ultimately didn't really take him that seriously and kind of assumed he was just overreacting about the whole thing. A little later that evening, they went and got a few beers, and right before he went to bed, he got an ominous text from Jane saying, "Where did you go? I've been waiting for you all night." Immediately, he blocked the number and went to sleep. He never found out who exactly was waiting for him in that apartment, but if one thing's for sure, he knew it wasn't a girl named Jane.
One day, I will create a website where I will sell my handmade merch, Yeti style, limited edition.
Build your website faster than Yeti with Hostinger Horizons and turn your one day into day one.
So, why were you here?
Would it kill you to read a brief?
Yeah, it might.
We don't want another Venice situation.
Remember, they cannot be allowed to plant that spike. Or we can just kill them all.
Let's heal.
We stick together. We fight together. We win together. Where's Phoenix?
They're coming straight in. Trust me, I've got nothing. on, pussy! Get out of there!
We need to pull back. We can't. If they detonate that spike, there will be nothing.
About damn time.
Seriously? What's the move?
We kill them all.
You wanna fight and we having a fight. I'm with this up, but you know I survive.
Where's the spike? I suppose we can call that a victory.
We haven't won. This is just the beginning.
That was one hell of a breeze.
Thank you for calling Office Place. This is Irene. How can I help you? Oh, is this...
Something.
Yep, schedule for the office is 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. You've reached the after hours call center. Till 5 p.m. Till 5 p.m. EST.
In 2021, Abe was dumped by his long-term girlfriend. The experience left him pretty bruised up, but after a while he decided to get back out there and start dating again.
Can I have your name?
Abe was more on the shy side, and so he wasn't the best at asking girls out. He wasn't exactly sure why, but either way, it wasn't his strong suit.
Oh, you're
when
not
Abe
one
had
of
met
our
his
clients
ex 6
yet.
years earlier, Tinder and other dating apps were just becoming popular, so online dating was pretty unfamiliar
You
to
are
him.
one of our clients?
But now he was single,
Okay,
and so he was
yeah.
pretty excited
The
to try
office
it out for
opens
the
at
first
8
time.
a.m. and closes
He had a
at
few
5
friends that had
p.m.
found success on dating apps, and so he was pretty optimistic. But after a few months of using Tinder, he realized online dating wasn't at all what
Do
he
you
thought it
want
would
to
be.
leave a message? I can
He
take
only
a
managed to
message
meet up
for
with
the
one
team
girl in a
the
park,
office.
and after 20 minutes, she played the classic phone call move, claiming she had gotten called into work. As you can probably guess, he never heard back from
Schedule
her
for
again.
your caregiver
He was about to
tomorrow.
call it
I
and
can
just
set
give up
that
on
for
dating
you.
apps completely when he got matched with a girl named Danny. She was a really pretty
I
girl
can
who he knew was
quickly
way out of his
take a
league
peek
and
at
had a
your
sneaking
schedule.
suspicion
Hang
that he was
on.
being
Give
catfished
me a
or played by one of his friends.
This is
He'd heard many stories of
Dorothy Gardner.
catfishing,
Your
and
last name
at
is
one point he
Gardner?
thought for sure Danny was going to be some 50-year-old dude.
Okay.
But because he didn't have many other options, and he was thrilled
Please
at the
bear with
small
me, Dorothy.
possibility of Danny being who she said she was, he continued to talk to her anyway. They talked for a few days, and finally agreed to meet at a local park, which Abe thought would be a perfect spot for a first date. There was this big lake in the middle and a series of trails that went all around the lake, which he thought would be pretty romantic. They agreed to meet up at 5 p.m. when the both of them had gotten off of work. A little after 5, she messaged him saying she was walking to the pavilion where all the picnic tables were. He looked over to his left out of his car
you have
window,
one
and
for
sure
9
enough, there was the
a.m.
girl
till
from the
12
Tinder
noon.
pictures. She was
And
actually
that's,
real.
oh, that's for
A
today.
newfound
For
nervousness knowing that
tomorrow,
she was
that's
actually
8
real,
a.m.
Abe
till
got out of the
11
car and walked up to her. They were able to talk for a few hours and actually had some pretty good chemistry between the two of them. Abe honestly couldn't believe he was pulling it off. Later that evening, as their talk was starting to wrap up, they decided to go for a walk on one of the trails, not wanting to end the
You
date.
had
And even though it was
Calista
starting to
from
get
9
dark
a.m. till
out,
12
they decided to
noon.
do it.
For tomorrow,
Normally, Abe would never have
17th,
agreed to walk in the dark with a stranger he had just met
tomorrow
online.
you have 8
But he felt
a.m.
calm with
till
Danny for some
11.
reason. He
That's
trusted
with
her.
Alexander.
They even held hands, and for the first time since he had been dumped, Abe felt something
And
special.
on
They walked for a long time along the lake until it was pretty much completely dark, at which point Danny suggested that they turn around and start making their way
Alexander.
back to the parking lot.
I have to
For the
look
first
that
few
up.
minutes, the
I
walk
don't
back
have
was
the gender
perfect.
in front of me.
They
I
had a
have
few
to
more
open
good conversations, and it felt like the chemistry was continuing to grow.
Are-
However, that's when things took a turn for the worse. They weren't far from the parking lot when
Right.
Abe noticed what looked like
Okay.
a man standing in the walkway, just watching them from a distance.
Yep.
The guy was just standing there, which obviously wasn't normal, and he could barely
That's
see him from the
8
distance, so he
8
started
to
to wonder
11,
if it was
yes.
just his imagination.
And on the
He didn't say anything to
18th,
Danny at
on
first,
the
but as they
18th,
got
you have
closer, with
Julie
the help of the faint light of the
from
moon
10
shining
to
through the
1.
trees, he realized it was a person. Danny froze before Abe could say anything,
And
and that's when he asked her if she could see the man.
On the
She said that she
19th,
could.
Julie,
That's when Danny
that's
shouted at the man and
12:30
asked
to
him if he needed
4:30.
anything, but the man just continued to stand there, staring at them.
Can you please just hear me out? No, all work
And on the
management platforms
20th,
are the same. They take forever to learn,
it's
and in
still
the
with
end, nobody
the
uses them.
20th,
Monday.com
it's still
is the
with
one you'll actually
Julie,
love
10
to use.
a.m.
It lets you set up your workflows
to
yourself.
12,
No
10 to
admin,
12.
no long approval process. You're in charge. I don't have time to set up workflows. That's fine. Monday also has a ton of templates you can choose from, so you
I
can be
see
up
that,
and running
yeah.
in no time. It's both
The
flexible
rest are
and
for
standardized.
Julie.
Sounds too good to be true. You know that llamas are biologically incapable of lying. How would I know that? Anyway, did you see the
21,
dashboards?
sorry, it's
They
still with
update in real time
Julie,
and
10
routines
to
day to
1.
day, so you're always in control. No freaking way. I don't have to put the data in myself. Are you for real? Monday.com handles all the boring stuff,
22,
so
still
you can
with
focus
Julie,
on what really
10 to
matters.
1.
But what if we're not compatible? If it's any type of work, marketing, sales, HR, llamas, and there's a free trial, so what's the harm? You know what?
Yeah.
I'm ready to fall in love again. Thanks, Talking Llama. You don't remember my name, do you? Of course I do.
That's for
Step.
Yeah, that's for next week, Dorothy.
Monday.com, the first work platform you'll love to use. Can you guys see her?
I don't have
Can
that
anyone
just
see
yet.
Elsie?
You're welcome, Dorothy. Have a good day.
Your email is your
Thank
first
you.
online
Bye.
impression. Make it count. With GoDaddy Email, get a professional address that matches your domain. It builds trust, boosts credibility, and helps grow your brand. Start strong with GoDaddy.
Gardner, Dorothy.
Abe was a bit taken aback by this, thinking they should just sneak away rather than make some giant scene about it. He thought this would put them at a better chance of being attacked, but he also didn't want to seem too scared in front of Danny. He tried to write off the whole thing as some idiot trying to play a joke on them, doing his best to hide the fear in his voice as he also yelled out. Danny reluctantly nodded towards the man, ensuing that they should keep going. And so Abe did so. He walked with her. He continued to pray that the man was just playing a joke on them, or that he would just turn around and leave them alone. But the guy didn't move at all. To make matters worse, they could now clearly see that he was concealing something behind his back. When they were about 10 feet away from him, the man finally moved his hands from behind his back and pointed a hunting knife at them. In a low and rough voice, he commanded them to turn around and put their hands above their head. Abe sort of froze up, not realizing the reality of the situation he was in. He honestly had no clue what to do. He had never been robbed before, and at that moment, he knew he was in very real danger. And that's when he suspected Danny of setting him up. He kind of looked over at her and wondered if she really could be behind this. However, that thought quickly left his head when Danny started to aggressively argue with the guy. Before Abe could even process what was happening, she started running at the armed man. Right before she reached him, she kind of threw her body at him and managed to knock him over. As soon as the man hit the ground face up, she shouted for Abe to run. Abe, kind of now even more taken aback by what he was seeing, just stood there, but finally started to run. He didn't want to leave Danny alone, but he didn't really need much more convincing. A couple of seconds later, Danny managed to get up and caught up to Abe. They could both clearly hear the man running after them as they made their way off the trail and sort of down this shortcut towards the parking lot. As soon as they got there, they both threw themselves into Danny's car and drove off, not even checking if there was anyone behind them as they pulled out of the parking lot. As they picked up speed and were starting to actually drive off, Abe looked in his rearview mirror, and that's when he saw the man with the knife in his hand still standing there. He was standing alone in the parking lot, again just staring at them as they drove off. Another thing they did notice is that there were other cars in the parking lot at the time of leaving. There were 3 other ones. This made them think that the guy may have had other accomplices with him. When they were a safe distance away, they called the police and reported what had just happened. The cops arrived at the scene pretty quickly, but the man was long gone, and the only car left in the lot now was Abe's. After they gave their statements to the cops and they left the area, they decided to go on a late-night dinner and stayed up all night talking about what had just happened. It was almost like the shared sense of danger from the incident had brought them closer in some way. And despite his horror, Abe decided to just go with it. Fast forward to 2 years later, and Abe and Danny are now engaged. Whenever they're asked about how they met, they always have a laugh at people's reactions when they tell them that they met on Tinder and almost got killed on their first date.
Excuse ba? Ay, si Isang.
When he was 21, Taylor had just gotten dumped by his girlfriend and had also recently become a police officer. As a 21-year-old new cop, he had this sort of I'm invincible and I can take on anyone mentality. So when he downloaded Tinder and matched with a good-looking girl named Brianna who was way out of his league, he assumed things would go great for him. After getting to know her a while on Tinder, they finally set up a date to meet. Brianna had mentioned our house had this great open field to sort of just look at the stars, hang out, and talk, and she offered for it to be their first date location. Taylor thought it was as good a spot as any and agreed. When the night came for them to meet, he was pretty excited to pick her up, and she seemed pretty excited as well as she got into his car. As she guided him to the field, Taylor knew it was going to be a great night. They had lucked out with the weather, and there were a ton of stars out. And it was this huge, peaceful open space with some nice woods, there were deer, and there were even other wildlife visible in the distance. It was the textbook perfect spot for a first date. However, as soon as Taylor parked the car, he noticed some really dim headlights in the distance. It looked like a van, but he wasn't entirely sure. When the vehicle got closer, he confirmed that it was a van, and he was a bit confused thinking they were the only ones on the property. As the van got closer, it didn't look like it was stopping, and it was in perfect head-on collision line with the parked car they were in. But as it got closer, it finally hit the brakes and stopped almost headlight to headlight with their parked car. It pretty much blocked Taylor's car from moving forward at all. Brianna seemed to have a confused look on her face, and so assuming she didn't know who it was, he kind of prepared for the worst and told her to stay in the car while he went to see what was going on. He grabbed his flashlight and walked up to the van, where he saw a pretty big dude sitting in the driver's seat. Sort of angrily at this point, he asked him what was going on and if he could back up his car a little bit. Surprisingly, the man was actually really polite, and in a low, kind voice, he said he was the owner of the property and didn't mean to scare them at all. According to the man, who introduced himself as Bob, he had been having trouble with poachers on his property and just wanted to make sure Taylor and Brianna weren't going to be shooting at the deer or hurting any of the other animals on the property. Taylor, a bit taken aback by this, lowered his voice to a more calm level. He smiled politely and assured him that they only came out to look at the stars and the wildlife. Bob seemed to be pretty happy with his explanation, and a few seconds later, he wished them a nice evening and drove away.
New Downy. Kahit stressed at pawis.
Downy, rub bango-bango, rub bango-bango. Fresh na love pag nirap, rub mo lang bloom ang fresh mo. Downy, rub bango-bango.
Albion Online is a sandbox MMORPG in which you write your own story instead of following a laid-out path. Explore a vast open world. Everything you do has an impact on Albion's player-driven economy. Every piece of equipment is crafted by players from resources gathered by players. The equipment you wear defines who you are. Switching from knight to magician is as easy as swapping your armor and weapon, or be a combination of the two. Venture deep inside dungeons and discover wealth and danger in equal measure. Relax by retreating to your personal island, where you can build a home, grow crops, and raise animals. Grab a fishing pole and head for Albion's rivers, lakes, and oceans. Join a guild, play together, take part in massive player versus player battles, and claim your piece of the world. This is Albion Online.
Taylor, pretty happy with how he had handled things, went back to his car ready to enjoy his first date. However, now Brianna, for whatever reason, didn't seem to be on the same page, and he noticed something very off about her behavior. Instead of actually talking to him and enjoying the date like they were just before, she was now texting nonstop, and when Taylor asked her who she was talking to, she refused to answer. He thought it was pretty weird, but he chalked it up to her nervousness or whatever and tried his best to strike up a fun conversation with her. About an hour later, he saw the same headlights coming towards them again, this time at a much faster pace than before. Feeling that he and his date were now in serious danger, he hopped in his truck and moved to a more defensive position. After the van screeched to a stop inches away from Taylor's car, even closer than before, Brianna jumped out of the truck and ran towards the van. Taylor at first was sort of confused, thinking why she would run to this van that seems to be a threat to them. However, that's when Taylor realized he had been set up. Thinking quickly, he got out of his truck and commanded them to get on the ground. Obviously, though, neither Brianna or who he now realized was Bob complied. To Taylor's horror, Bob then charged at him and knocked him on the ground. Using all of his strength, Taylor managed to get up on his back and get up before Bob could grab him again. Everything was happening too quickly for him to process, but he knew he had to do something quickly or something really messed up would happen to him. That's when he saw Brianna, who a second ago he trusted, grab the metal pipe from Bob's van. She sort of shouted at him that they had a gun, but that if he gave them all his money and his truck, he would walk away unharmed. Now, again, Taylor had this sort of I'm invincible kind of mindset, and so he refused, to which Brianna started to cry, saying that she didn't want to hurt him if she didn't have to. When he saw Bob run back to the van, he finally revealed to them he was a cop, and he drew his concealed gun and commanded them to get on the ground. After a moment of shock, they finally complied, and Taylor scrambled to call 911. Just as he was telling dispatch that he had 2 suspects at gunpoint and needed backup immediately, Bob and Brianna got up and quickly started sprinting away into the darkness. Even though he knew it was a dumb choice at the time, Taylor initially started chasing them and ran into the woods around the field. The chase lasted maybe 30 seconds when Taylor heard 3 loud pops and saw a muzzle flash in the distance. Now feeling true panic for the first time that night, he sprinted back to his car and put the pedal to the metal until he was a safe distance away. Minutes later, he went back to the house where he had picked up Brianna, called dispatch again, and asked the cops to come to that location. As soon as his sergeant and field training officer got there, obviously knowing who he was, they sort of gave him crap about having to call the cops. When he really was the cops, he was just off duty. However, at the same time, they did recognize the seriousness of the situation and got in a patrol car and all drove down towards the field. To everyone's surprise, the van was still there. To Taylor's disappointment, his sergeant ordered him to stay in the car, keep his mouth shut, and only come out if they were getting shot at. Although the sergeant and training officer didn't find any sign of Bob or Brianna, they did find drugs in the center console of the car. But that wasn't all they found. When they came back to the patrol car, they weren't doing any more joking around, and the both of them looked pale and horrified at what they had just seen. They told Taylor to follow them back to the van, and after peering inside, he saw several knives, duct tape, lighter fluid, a decent amount of rifle ammo, handcuffs, and what looked to be dried blood. In the front passenger side, they found an AR-15 style rifle and 2 more handcuffs. The atmosphere obviously immediately changed as the 3 of them looked at each other wide-eyed. The team called for backup, and a few minutes later, detectives arrived at the scene, which is where it was revealed that the plates were stolen and that the van had been reported stolen a few weeks prior to the incident. Taylor does still get picked on by his supervising officers about the incident to this day, but he's just happy no one got hurt. Since that night, he never went back to online dating again.
One day, I will create a website where I will sell my handmade merch. Yeti style. Limited edition.
In 2019, Sabrina matched with a guy on Tinder named Nick, who she thought was really cute. Because she'd had plenty of good experiences using dating apps in the past, her guard was a little down, and she rarely let her friends know what she was doing, who she was with, or where she was. For the first couple of dates with this guy, they went to get coffee or on walks outside. After about 2 weeks of dating, Sabrina decided she really liked Nick. He was friendly, good-looking, he was funny, he had his life together, and they also had great chemistry together. For their third date, Nick suggested that Sabrina should come over to his place to have some wine. Feeling safe and comfortable enough to be alone with this guy at this point, Sabrina agreed. When the night of their date finally came, she went over to Nick's house, excited to get to know him even better. The two joked around for a bit and started talking like on their previous dates. After a while, Nick poured her a glass of wine. At this point, Sabrina thought things were going really well, and she felt comfortable in his company. However, after a while, at about 8 p.m., Sabrina started feeling a little funny. She felt almost sleepy and a little weak. She had trouble stringing a sentence together. Now, in the past, Sabrina had been roofied once before at a college party, and so she immediately recognized the effects as soon as they kicked in. But at the exact same time, now realizing the danger of the situation she was in, she pretended she was feeling fine. From her past experience, she knew she only had a few minutes before she passed out and was left vulnerable and at the mercy of this man that she thought she could trust. She knew she had to do something, and so at around 8:15, Sabrina told Nick as quickly and energetically as possible that she needed to use the bathroom, trying her best to make it seem as if nothing was off. Fortunately, Nick didn't seem to notice anything strange about her behavior, and once she was inside the bathroom, she locked the door immediately and called the police. As Sabrina sat there, her surroundings starting to blur, she told them that she had been drugged and that they needed to come get her out before something terrible happened. Less than a minute after giving the cops Nick's address and hanging up the phone, she was completely out. But because she was still under the effects of the drug, she felt herself slide in and out of consciousness during this time. All she remembers is the police putting a bag over her head as they carried her out of the bathroom and into the patrol car. Following this entire incident, Sabrina was understandably traumatized, but at that point, she wasn't even aware of how badly things could have ended for her had she not reacted as quickly as she did. A few days later, she received a call from the police asking her to come down to the station to give her statement. Once there, she mentioned to the cops that the only thing she remembered clearly was that they had put a bag over her head, but that she could have imagined it due to the effects of the drug. As soon as she said this, the cops looked at each other uncomfortably and confessed that they had indeed put a bag over her head. Sabrina looked at them, kind of confused. They quickly explained that it was actually to protect her. When they walked into the apartment, they saw that Nick had set up something extremely disturbing for her in the living room, and that seeing it would have been too traumatizing for Sabrina. She immediately felt a shiver go down her spine. Because Nick was thrown in jail following the incident, she never found out what exactly he had prepared for her. However, she kind of sees this as a good thing. After this whole nightmare, Sabrina deleted Tinder and vowed never to go back to online dating again.
Are you okay?
Ako, baka mamiss ko deadline ni client.
At first signs of sore throat, take strepsils, clinically proven to kill viruses and bacteria, providing fast relief in 60 seconds.
No problem.
Put your best throat forward.
I think we all know how the story ends. All of America's top federal authorities find no evidence of collusion or conspiracy. There was no client list, no blackmail, nothing left behind at all. The banker who spent his career building a mysterious fortune while he managed money for billionaire clients that probably didn't exist, while also trafficking girls to and from a private island in the Caribbean at the same time as he hosted some of the world's foremost politicians, businessmen, intellectuals, and celebrities as house guests, he had acted completely alone. It was all an unfortunate coincidence and nothing more. The story of Jeffrey Epstein faded into the past as the world kept turning.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
Or at least that's what the story would have been if there weren't already mountains and mountains of evidence of Epstein being not just a psychopath, but also at the center of a crime ring that involved the world's most powerful people, procuring victims for them to abuse together. Even now, with the federal government conflicting themselves and going back on their word in regards to his case, the controversy and mystery around Jeffrey Epstein has reached a fever pitch. Silence doesn't make it go away. It's only made the questions grow louder as people's trust in our leadership is turning to dust. But in order to understand how Jeffrey Epstein was allowed to happen, what made him the monster he was, we have to go all the way back to the beginning, before the island, before the fortunes, before the world knew his name. and we have to take a much closer look at his life and the system that enabled him. Jeffrey Epstein first appears in any public capacity in July of 1980 when he's 27 years old, but the context is very strange. There's an article I found from Cosmopolitan magazine where he was listed as Bachelor of the Month with a tiny blurb and a black and white photo next to it. It says, financial strategist Jeffrey Epstein talks only to people who make over $1 million a year. If you're a cute Texas girl, write this New York dynamo at 55 Water Street, 49th floor, New York, blah, blah, blah. Because for the first 20 years of his career, Epstein garnered only occasional and brief mentions in the press. He had no real public recognition at all in the way that most high-level bankers might. And that's because there wasn't really a sensible explanation as to how he got there in the first place. Jeffrey Edward Epstein, born in Brooklyn in 1953, was the son of two working-class Jewish parents who, by all accounts, were completely normal. His mother, Pauline, worked a full-time job as a teacher's assistant while raising the kids, and his father worked for the City of New York's Parks Department as a gardener. Former friends and neighbors would use words like simple, humble, and gentle when talking about Epstein's parents, his brothers, and even Jeffrey himself. One former neighbor would later write that he was a nerdy little boy. People said that he was smart, overweight, always smiling, but mostly quiet. In high school, Epstein liked algebra and calculus, and he was on the math team, but his teammates would later describe him as not sticking out all that much. But he was smart enough to graduate high school in 1969, 2 years early, and he would then attend Cooper Union College, a very small school in Manhattan known for offering completely free tuition. He studied math there, although after 2 years he transferred to NYU, but he ended up leaving there after 3 years without any college degree at all. But within 2 months, Epstein had picked up a full-time job anyway. He'd become a high school math teacher, not just at any school, but at one of the most prestigious in Manhattan, a school for the children of the elites. The students were the children of highly paid bankers, developers, politicians, people that could afford to pay a tuition equal to $50,000 a year today. By the time he started teaching at Dalton, Epstein was almost a completely different person. Basically, as a teacher, Jeffrey Epstein was a sleazy scumbag and...
You've got a great idea. GoDaddy has the perfect domain name to go with it. It only takes a few minutes to register one with over 500 extensions to choose from. Plus,
a bit of a disaster. In the mid-1970s, students at one of New York's most esteemed prep schools were surprised to encounter a new teacher who pushed the limits of the school's strict dress code, wandering the halls in a fur coat, gold chains, and an open shirt that exposed his chest. But it wasn't just a willingness to dress provocatively, it was how he interacted with students that left an impression on many of them for decades after. He was apparently popular among female students, as many young teachers might be, but the problem was that he not only embraced the attention, but also seemed to have chased after it. The story goes that at one point, he even started showing up at students' parties, including ones where they would have been drinking underage. But before this private school teacher in his mid-20s could ever get involved in something that might implicate him in a serious way, Epstein was fired from the Dalton School for performance issues. He simply wasn't a good teacher. But at the same time, though, he was able to move his career in a way that I could only describe as failing upwards. Because if you fast forward about 20 years, Epstein was no longer this sort of aimless college dropout who had a reputation for being a bit of a creep towards students at the school he worked at. It was almost as if Epstein would go on to become a completely, literally different person. When you look deeper at how exactly Epstein goes from this disgraced school teacher to flying a jetliner around the world while he rubs elbows with the rich and famous, the puzzle pieces don't really fit together. It would only be a few months after getting fired from the Dalton School in 1976 until Epstein found another job. Specifically, he got hired at the giant investment firm Bear Stearns as an assistant to a floor trader. And it's the second time he did that in just a couple of years. Because if he did do one thing right while working at Dalton, it was impress his students' rich and powerful parents. Specifically, he was hired off the recommendation of a student's parent he had impressed who also happened to be friends with Alan Greenberg, CEO of the bajillion-dollar Bear Stearns investment bank. Greenberg was also known for coming from a working-class background, and he liked to hire people with what he called PSD degrees: poor, smart, and desperate to be rich. Whether or not getting his foot in the door was his original goal while working at a private school, whatever it was, Epstein had launched himself up the ladder in a massive way. And it's kind of weird, but Epstein's time at this giant financial services firm, it wasn't all that different from his time as a teacher. Within just 4 years there, he gets promoted from junior assistant to limited partner, which is a pretty crazy trajectory for someone with no college degree. But then, just a year after that, he was actually asked to quit or be fired during an SEC investigation into insider trading at Bear Stearns. But for the rest of the 1980s, he would start or get involved in a strange series of businesses that, if we didn't know they existed, kind of sound made up. Speaking of strange businesses, I wanted to let everyone know that the shirt I'm wearing in this video, I designed it and embroidered it myself, and it's on sale now. I think it's pretty obvious what the meaning is here, that our entire world is being sold out to evil people. So if you want to buy the most morbid and grim YouTube merch ever made, it is available. It's actually really high quality. The shirts are super solid. They're made with American cotton, and the embroidery is done on location at my studio, and there's free shipping inside the US. So you can check out spiritworld.store, help support the channel in a really big way, and cop a super nice shirt at the same time. That's spiritworld.store to buy the American Realty shirt, or the link is also below in the description. Probably the strangest out of everything he did during this time was Towers Financial Corporation, a collection agency that was in the business of buying consumer medical debt. While he was hired as a consultant and paid the equivalent of $69,000 a month today, the first job he was given was to start using the company as a raiding vessel for corporate takeovers. In the 80s, there was this popular practice of buying a large stake in a corporation, then firing top executives, and then downsizing even further to increase the share value before selling. Basically, you take over and ruin a company just to make money from it. And their first move was to attempt to take over of a kind of old, declining airline, Pan American World Airways, in 1987. A year later, they also tried to take over Emory Air Freight. And while both attempts failed, that wasn't the problem. The problem is that they were using money they didn't actually have. Basically, while this company was claiming to be a debt collection agency, they had also raised $500 million from investors while promising big returns. They used the money on private jets, fancy houses, expensive cars, and their plan for paying it all back was to attempt those crazy corporate takeovers that were supposed to make enough profit to cover everything. But then when the takeovers failed, they had nowhere to turn, no money to repay the investors, and it all fell apart. And so in 1993, Towers Financial would implode after being exposed as one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in American history. But when it came time for his former business partner, Stephen Hoffenberg, to be deposed and tell his side of the story in court, he didn't just throw Epstein under the bus, he basically blamed the whole thing on him. But by the time the company collapsed and was being investigated, Epstein had already been gone for 3 years. He would never be charged with anything related to Towers Financial. Meanwhile, his business partner Hoffenberg, he would spend nearly 20 years in prison. I don't think we have an exact reason why Epstein was never charged for being on the inside of one of the biggest Ponzi schemes ever. One explanation is that Hoffenberg could have been lying. His testimony during his case was considered kind of generally unreliable. He would lie about a lot of stuff, wouldn't tell the truth. Another reason is that if Epstein was never really on the record as being deeply involved in the fraud, because apparently they didn't use his name for the trades or whatever it was, it's just hearsay. You know, we can't really prove that he's involved in the scam, so it's not worth pursuing if they did have Hoffenberg right in front of them and they could just punish him. However, another person would later write that it was only because of lazy prosecution that Epstein walked away, and that he was definitely involved as far as anyone can tell. Especially because it's well recorded that during the peak of the Towers Financial scam, Epstein was physically accompanying Hoffenberg around the world on his jet. He was meeting with investors. He was with him a lot of the time. And that's because somehow, after walking away from a moderately high-paying consultant job and apparently having nothing to do with the hundreds of millions of dirty money they made, he somehow pops up again a couple years later, completely reinvented, like his old self never existed at all. But the idea that Epstein's career is just kind of a story about failing upwards, like I mentioned earlier, that doesn't even really explain how he ends up where he did. Yeah, a teacher at a rich private school might get hired by one of his students' rich parents, okay? But 15 years later, walking away unscathed from one of the worst financial crimes in American history. I mean, seriously, most of us probably don't remember, but Towers Financial was absolutely horrible. Even back at that point in his life, a lot of his situations sound like a conspiracy. But of course, that's only one of these really odd stories that have been told about Epstein's careers over the years that imply all these different truths about how he ended up where he did. Multiple people over the years, journalists, friends, business partners, they all recalled Epstein suggesting or hinting that he worked for an intelligence agency, although he never specified which one. But in the mid to late 80s, during the same time he was working at Towers Financial, he also worked with Adnan Khashoggi, the Saudi businessman with ties to the CIA and Mossad, who is best known for being the middleman in transferring American weapons from Israel to Iran during the Iran-Contra affair. Add on to that the fact that Epstein was later found to have a fake Austrian passport with multiple stamps from the Middle East, it only further further paints a very confusing picture about Epstein's career. There just isn't a normal, sensible conclusion to this part of Epstein's life. Even after connecting all the dots, it still doesn't make sense. He starts off by dropping out of college without getting his degree, only to get hired at a prestigious school that he then gets fired from for being a bad teacher, only to then get hired at a hugely prestigious investment firm that he also then gets fired from, only to then end up getting implicated in one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in American history that he somehow never faces a single charge for being involved in. Along the way, he acquires fake passports, he does business with arms dealers in the Middle East, and at the end of all of it, he's filthy rich. At every single turn, you see him get not punished, but actually rewarded. Rewarded for stealing, cheating, and lying. But the craziest part of all of that is that that was just the beginning. In the late 80s, Epstein forms a new company, Epstein & Co., a wealth management firm where he establishes immediately.
Hey,
Yeah.